Okay, guys, we're gonna get going here. Got a lot of bills, and we do need to get Senator Kelly back to the Judicial Proceedings Committee because she's sorely needed there. So we're gonna take her first on Senate Bill 527. Senator, why don't you come on up? And we've got three witnesses signed up as part of your sponsor panel. We've got Robin Elliott, who I see, Jakaya Johnson, and then virtually we've got Victoria Nichols, which we'll take Ms. Nichols up virtually after we do our in-person witnesses. So Senator Kelly, take the time you need to present Senate Bill 527.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the EEE Committee. I am here with Senate Bill 527, which is Community Colleges Contraception Access Requirements. You all will find this bill quite familiar. It is a follow-up to a piece of legislation that was Chair Feldman's Senate Bill 341 that this committee passed out last year. That bill expanded access to reproductive health services at four-year public colleges and universities. When we had the hearing for that bill, Vice Chair Kagan had a very excellent question regarding why this bill didn't include community colleges. So we decided to get the band back together and expand access to community colleges this year. So we have Jakaya Johnson back here with us. She originally was the innovator of the four-year campuses bill. What SB 527 does is it provides access just for contraceptive services for community college students. As we know, community college students tend to be lower income, older, more likely uninsured. They are juggling competing priorities with work and family. They also, unfortunately, have significantly lower completion rate than public four-year school students. In fact, the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center found that community college students have a 43.4% completion rate, while public four-year students have a 67.4% completion rate. So there's a huge gap already. Also, according to the CDC, 61% of community college students with unplanned pregnancies do not complete their degree. So we are trying to help with those challenges. So it is similar to last year's bill, but it is appropriately modified for community colleges, which are non-residential, and many of them do not have health centers on campus. So that's why this bill is much narrower in scope than last year's bill. It does provide community college students access to over-the-counter contraception on campus during the hours that classes are being held, as opposed to 24 hours. Again, these are non-residential schools. So we didn't want to be burdensome on the community colleges. The buildings are locked and nobody's there, so we don't need contraceptive access during those times. But it will ensure students access to condoms, emergency contraception, including Plan B and other generics, and the recently FDA-approved over-the-counter birth control pill. We wanted to make it very easy to implement, so it allows each campus the flexibility to determine how to provide this access, whether through their health center if they have one, or through campus stores or vending machines. The American Society for Emergency Contraception compiled a list of over-the-counter contraceptive suppliers that do offer discounted rates to the schools. And you will see MDH, the Department of Health, strongly supports this legislation. The bill authorizes them to provide technical assistance to community colleges in partnership with a nonprofit organization with expertise in the area. The reason for that is that as a result of last year's legislation, MDH is already collaborating with the American Society of Emergency Contraception to provide technical assistance on how campuses can have vending machines. The bill is student-centered. It requires community colleges to work with students on bill implementation to ensure that the student needs are met. There's a very simple reporting requirement to MHEC in there. As I mentioned, you'll see a strong letter of support from the Department of Health, as well as in your file, a letter of support from the Maryland Association of Community Colleges. With that, before I urge a favorable report, I'll just let you know who I have here on the panel with me. Of course, Jakaya Johnson, who is the Executive Director of Reproductive Justice Maryland, as well as Robin Elliott, representing the Women's Law Center and the American College of Nurse Midwives. And on Zoom, or whatever it is we have here, virtually, we'll have Victoria Nichols from the IBIS Reproductive Health Project Director of Free the Pill. So with that, I'm going to urge a favorable report to this common sense bill, and want to really thank the Vice Chair for working with me on this legislation and co-sponsoring the bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Kelly. Why don't we, let's just go through the three witnesses and then we can open up, assuming you can stick around.
Absolutely, I would love to.
Okay, who wants to go next? Ms. Johnson, you want to go next? Welcome back to the committee. We remember you from last year. And so we're going to tell her to put the clock on. Okay, we're gonna actually have, because there's so many bills today, we're gonna have to put you on, everybody on the clock who's not the Senate sponsor. So Ms. Johnson, you're gonna be on a 2-minute clock like everybody else, okay?
Thank
Go
you.
on.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm Madam Vice Chair. My name is Jakia Johnson. As Senator Kelly said, I'm the Executive Director of Reproductive Justice Maryland, and I'm here today in strong support of Senate Bill 527. The bill aims to address a critical need, which is accessible access to on-campus contraceptives at Maryland community colleges. And drawing from my experience as a graduate student at Bowie State University, where I was intimately involved in the passage of similar legislation for public four-year institutions, and from ongoing advocacy efforts, I've witnessed firsthand the challenges faced by college students, particularly in assessing affordable reproductive health care. This bill represents a vital step towards rectifying these disparities and ensuring that all Marylanders have the resources they need to make informed decisions about their reproductive health. Community college students have unique challenges, which are often amplified by financial constraints. And it's incredibly important that we have equal access to reproductive health care resources, because reproductive health care access is not a privilege, it is a fundamental human right. So by mandating on-campus access to over-the-counter contraceptives for Maryland community college students, SB 527 makes a significant stride toward equity and justice. And many studies have demonstrated a positive correlation between contraceptive access and educational attainment, including a 2021 study conducted by the Guttmacher Institute that found women who could reliably access over-the-counter contraceptives had a dropout rate that was 35% lower than those who did not have access. Supporting Senate Bill 527 not only addresses immediate healthcare needs, but also fosters long-term societal advancement. And for those reasons, I urge a favorable report for Senate Bill 527. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Elliott, you're up next.
Good afternoon, Robin Elliott. I'm here today on behalf of the Women's Law Center of Maryland and the American College of Nurse Midwives, the Maryland affiliate, in support of the bill. I will just add very quickly that the technical assistance that Senator Kelly referred to is going on now, and that is helping college campuses, and it's open to community colleges even before you pass this bill. And that is helping them understand how to work with students and their different options for vending machines on campus. It's really very straightforward. I'm really excited about our third witness today, because very, very exciting news, and that is very, very soon we're going to see the first daily birth control pill on the shelf. And this is part of this bill. So with that, I would ask for a favorable report.
Okay, why don't we go to take Ms. Nichols, our virtual witness, and then we'll open up questions. Ms. Nichols, welcome. You've got 2 minutes, okay?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Victoria Nichols. I'm the project director for Free the Pill, which is a project of IBIS Reproductive Health that supports a coalition of over 200 reproductive health rights and justice organizations, researchers, advocacy groups, youth activists, healthcare providers, and prominent medical and health professional associations, as well as others who are committed to ensuring more equitable access to safe, effective, and affordable birth control to people of all ages, backgrounds, identities in the United States. The coalition members support over-the-counter birth control pills that are affordable, fully covered by insurance, and available to people of all ages. I appreciate the opportunity to provide information on this bill, SB 527. The bill would require community colleges, campuses in Maryland to provide access to OTC contraception during school hours. I would like to also provide background on a new type of over-the-counter birth control. On July 13th, 2023, the Food and Drug Administration approved Opill, a progestin-only birth control pill, or POP, for over-the-counter use. After a comprehensive review of the data and a unanimous advisory committee vote to recommend Opill for over-the-counter status, the FDA followed the science and made a decision that will help expand contraceptive access to those who face the greatest barriers to care. Decades of data show that progestin-only pills are safe, effective, and appropriate for people of all ages. The United States will now join over 100 countries where birth control pills are available without a prescription, and Opill will soon be available in most major pharmacies across the country and will be the most effective birth control method available over the counter. It will be on shelves just like other OTC medications and also sold online. And like other birth control pills, Opill must be taken daily. SB 527 would include access to Opill. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any questions for Senator Kelly or any of the witnesses? Senator Carozza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Kelly. I actually, in candor, enjoyed working on the stalking bill with you as a co-sponsor, and don't really enjoy this one as much. So if you'll take that in the spirit that I'm offering it.
Of course.
I want to give a little background before I ask my three questions. Last week, community college students from across the state were here in mass, and they were here in mass, and they were enthusiastic, and they were fighting for the restoration of the CADE funding cuts. We've all seen the title about the devastating budget plan would cause irreparable harm to Maryland community colleges. My president of Warwick Community College personalized this to say that this represents the fourth largest funding cut in the history of the CADE formula after those of the Great Recession and the COVID pandemic. Talks about that the reduction of CADE funding in a time of enrollment growth at the college will provide less support for our students and faculty. I personally spoke to that group that came from across the state, but then I also personally in my office met with over 30 of Warwick Community College students, and not one of them brought up their support for Senate Bill 527, that they were totally focused on restoring the cuts. So my concern is that we are mandating this contraception access requirement that will have a cost to local community colleges at a time when we're desperately fighting to restore the 22 million plus in cuts. So my first question is, do we have a breakdown of how this is going to cost the individual community colleges? And again, I did want to, since this is a community college bill, just try, and the fact that I had all my students there, not one of them brought it up, not sure where this is coming from.
Okay, so it sounds like a two-part question. So let me address the first part, which is, and this is good news because I also am deeply concerned about cuts to community colleges and support absolutely making sure they have the resources that they need. But implementing this is almost negligible in cost. And I don't know if you guys have a one question, one answer rule, because I know Ms. Johnson has some information on this, and I think
we want to,
Yeah.
this is important topics.
So, when we looked into this for the 4-year schools, the numbers we were talking about were $2,500 maybe. I mean, very, very low cost. As I mentioned, they don't have to distribute these contraceptives for free, right? They're at a charge. So it's just a matter of setting up how you choose to distribute them. If you have a campus health center, there's no cost. If you have a vending machine, it could be maybe $2,500. But I would like Ms. Johnson to talk about that because she's done a lot of research and work on this. So let me pass it off to Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. And thank you for your question. I worked pretty closely with the American Society for Emergency Contraception and helping schools through technical support for things like this. And the costs can vary, but there are very inexpensive ways of accomplishing the mandate that this bill would require. And we've worked with a number of companies that supply emergency contraception who have agreed to sell to universities at $5 a pill. And so if the schools were to sell at 100% markup, they would not be losing any money. And students would still get a significant discount versus what they would pay in a drugstore. If the schools were to decide to go through a vending machine, they could buy a vending machine at Sam's Club for $2,500 and have a student stock it as part of a work study. It's over-the-counter medication, so there's no need for pharmacy, no need for anyone with any type of medical degree to be handling this type of medication. It's really low cost to implement, and the benefits far outweigh any costs associated with it.
Okay, Senator Carozza, did you have another question? Sure.
Questions. One, I would like to know, since this bill allows for over-the-counter contraception to be made available to students that can be obtained without a prescription. Do you have a list of the drugs and devices that would be made available? And also a list of the possible side effects of these prescriptions, as well as in community colleges, we have the issue of dual enrollment. So how do we ensure that minors, that they're not accessing the drugs and devices that otherwise they would need parental consent? So, you know, we have that population as well. And just how would you address those questions?
I think Robin Elliott is best to address this. Very good questions.
Great. So there are 3 types of over-the-counter contraception. There are condoms, which have been around for a very long time. There is Plan B, also called emergency contraception, and some generics. And then there is Opal that we just heard about, and that is a daily birth control pill that the FDA has determined is safe for over-the-counter use. So these are all products that could be in our 7-Eleven, our Walgreens, our giant food store. There's with the over-the-counter status, it means that it is safe for use at any age that is appropriate. So there's not a consent requirement for over-the-counter medication of any kind, including contraception.
And this, as far as the list of that you discussed, no concerns about side effects and impact on women's health. I mean, again, I'm thinking of Warwick Community College, which right now I can tell you they are totally focused on restoring these cuts. Now, I just had a conversation about, well, you know, how are you going to do this? And they're like, well, I guess we'll have to figure something out with vending machines. And, you know, I said, well, you know, what about the questions I've raised? And they have not thought through this at all. I mean, at this point, it is a mandate that is going to cost them, and it's going to cost them at a time when they're fighting, you know, for their survival and restoring those cuts. And it just doesn't sound to me like all of this has been thought through as we're considering this bill today. So
just a little bit of background information, because I just watched this process with the new birth control pill, Opal, is that the FDA process by which they require the manufacturer to submit studies, and those are reviewed, takes a long time. It's very rigorous, involves multiple reviews and a panel of experts to advise the FDA. So that means any over-the-counter medication, whether it's contraception or it's Claritin or some kind of ibuprofen, there's a very thorough review as to the side effects. The other thing that occurs in that is making sure that it's something that consumers understand how to use. And there are very, very rigorous testing done that the manufacturer has to demonstrate that consumers understand how to use a product. So that's the same whether it's contraception or any other over-the-counter medication.
Okay, let's go to Senator Gallion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. A couple questions. A lot of this is just honestly curiosity on my part. I'm curious how the vending machines work. So this is already being done to some extent in our four-year colleges. So you mentioned condoms, Plan B, and Opal. So the vending machine have a choice of the three, and there's a certain cost for each one. And like so is it would it just be like one, or is there like a pack? I mean, how does that actually work? I'm just curious about that.
So that would be up to each individual university. Typically how it works is just like any other vending machine where you have chips and candy and other snacks. So each item will have its own like single serve pack, or and also typically they include other general wellness products. So it's not just like about sexual health. Students also get access to things like Band-Aids or ibuprofen or things that you might use, on a regular basis.
But one other thing, you talked about the dropout rates for folk. Do you also have data on like dropout rates for folks that choose abstinence? And is that made known to the students at these colleges?
That's a great question. I don't have that data point with me because it wasn't relevant to this legislation, which is about contraception, but I can certainly look that up for you. I'm sure we can get that.
Okay, additional questions for the panel? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 527. Thank you, Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna next go to Senator King. I believe Senator King is, and there she is. We're gonna go with Senate Bill 864. And Senator, you've got four witnesses signed up for part of your sponsor panel, although there are actually 6 witnesses all signed up straight favorable.
Correct.
So I'll just reel off. I do see former Senator Hogan here. I'm just going to reel off the 6 names, and actually might help if you want to just go to the podium. We have 6 seats
can do
here,
that.
and then we'll have 6 witnesses
Okay,
that
Mr.
probably
Chairman, we
simplify.
will make it short and sweet, I
Okay,
promise.
perfect. Okay, so I got PJ Hogan, Valerie Shears Ashby, and Kademian, Allison Wren, Jake Weissman, and Anastasia Golikova. So let's see, how many we got? Okay, I reeled off 6 names. It's only 5 folks here, but that's okay. Anyway, we're good to go. We're on Senate Bill 864. Senator King, take the time you need to present Senate Bill 864.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. In 1988, then Governor William Donald Schaefer's administration introduced legislation designating the University of Maryland College Park as the state's flagship university. 36 years later, we are here to ask you to consider another designation for a unique partner in the university system of Maryland's family, the universities at Shady Grove, or USG. USG offers nearly 80 undergraduate and graduate degree programs from 9 different Maryland public universities on one convenient campus in Montgomery County. That model in itself speaks to the uniqueness of USG, but it's USG's commitment and the execution of connecting students directly with local and regional employers to allow them to move seamlessly from classrooms to careers that really sets USG apart. I could go on and on about USG as I've been their cheerleader for a lot of years, but I will let my panel tell you more. This legislation will designate the universities at Shady Grove as a community of innovation, and I ask for your favorable report on Senate Bill 864.
Okay, do we have a sequence, Senator, you prefer?
Okay.
Okay, why don't you lead off and you tell us who you are and keep that mic close to you, okay?
Okay.
And you're going to be on the clock where everybody's going to have 2 minutes each, okay?
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Chairman Feldman, Vice Chair Kagan, and all the members of the committee for providing the opportunity to testify in support of the SB 864, designating the universities at Shady Grove, the state of Maryland's regional higher education community of innovation. We are especially grateful to Senator Nancy King for her continuing support of the growth and development of USG and her sponsorship of this bill. And also a special thanks to Delegate Sarah Wallach for sponsoring the cross-filed bill in the House. I'm Ann Kademian. I'm the Executive Director of the Universities at Shady Grove, and I'm so grateful to have such a distinguished panel here today and to be speaking with Senator King. USG is one of 3 USM regional higher education centers in Maryland. We serve 3,500 students a year seeking upper-level undergraduate degrees and graduate programs who balance family and workplace responsibilities. Our model provides greater access and affordability for students who would not otherwise have the opportunity to attend traditional 4-year institutions. With the designation, we can deliver so much more. We can ensure students are career ready and bring potential employers into their educational experience. We can connect more students to meaningful employment in priority industry sectors. We can achieve debt-free graduation for more students, and we can drive economic growth in Montgomery County and the state of Maryland through talent development. We are grateful for the support of USM leadership the USM Board of Regents, and the entire USG Board of Advisors who represent educational and business interests across our state. And I welcome each of you and wait to invite you all to USG and show you the campus and introduce you to our students, faculty, and staff. Thank you so much.
You mean the campus located in Senate District 15? You mean that one? Okay, no. Okay, who wants to go next? Okay, tell us who you are.
Thank you, Chair Feldman, Vice Chair Kagan, and members of the committee. I'm Dr. Allison Wren, the Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs for the University of System of Maryland. And I'm here to support the designation of the Universities of Shady Grove as a community of innovation. In the USM, the RHECs are unique and special, and Shady Grove is the largest and the oldest of the three. It serves a population of students who have limited four-year degree opportunities, and it targets the workforce needs of the region and the state. We know that there are some enrollment issues post-COVID, but USG is rebounding, and many students are still not being served in this state. And this designation, which connects students to post-secondary credentials and to workforce-based degrees, is going to make a difference. The implementation of the blueprint is going to have more career and college-ready high school graduates for us to serve. And we are there to do this in a very non-traditional manner. I have participated in the incredibly collaborative strategic planning process that they underwent at Shady Grove, and have watched as this notion of a community of innovation has evolved. And it has involved people from the community, academics, and others. And it's really going to be a unique thing for the state of Maryland. So just to let you know, the Chancellor, the leadership team, as well as the Board of Regents are very much in support of this. The Regents passed a unanimous resolution at their September 22nd, 2023 board meeting to support this designation of USG as a community of innovation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You want to go next, former Senator Hogan?
Thank you. For the record, my name is PJ Hogan. I'm on the Board of Advisors. Chairman Feldman, Vice Chairman Kagan, members of the committee. This is the first time I've worn a tie since December. I would only wear a tie for two reasons. One, out of respect for this committee, and number two, for my passion for universities at Shady Grove. I am as I said, a member of the Board of Advisors. I've been on the Board of Advisors for 24 years. I was a founding member of universities at Shady Grove. Why this bill is important, why it's needed. There certainly is precedent. Senator King, thank you for introducing the bill. Senator King noted that University of Maryland College Park was designated statute as the flagship public research institution. That's not the only designation. Morgan State University was designated as the state's preeminent urban research institution. University of Maryland Global Campus. This is way back when they were the only ones doing online education. As I look around, you're all too young to remember those days. They were designated as the online institution for the state. So there is precedent for this. Why it's important. USG is unique. It is, as was pointed out, is the largest of the regional higher education centers by leaps and bounds, with all due respect to the other regional higher ed centers. It has the most diverse population of students, and it has an incredible tie to the business community. It serves workforce development as well, if not better than any institution I've ever seen. And this innovation will allow them to start programs that don't exist at other institutions. They can experiment. I'm out of time. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, ask for a favorable report to this bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Why don't we go down and we'll take two witnesses, including the young man on the end that we sort of know. Okay, tell us who you are, and again, you'll have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Anastasia Golikova. I am a UMBC student in the Translational Life Science Technology program, or what we call TLST, which is offered exclusively on the university's at Shady Grove campus. My goal is to apply my scientific experience at one of the many cutting-edge biotech companies or research labs that are found all around our campus. I'm excited to say that I will be graduating this May with my bachelor's degree, and I feel so fortunate to have been able to complete my UMBC studies at USG. I first found out about USG as a high school student who attended nearby Thomas Wooten High School. I then began studying biochemistry at the UMBC home campus before transferring to UMBC at Shady Grove upon hearing about the new TLST degree. I'm here today to urge you to pass SB 864 to make clear what I already know, that universities at Shady Grove is truly a regional higher education community of innovation. Officially designating our campus that way will help to pave the way for even more innovative partnerships, more of the same kind that helped to bring the TLST program about. In creating the TLST program just a few years ago, UMBC collaborated with USG, Montgomery College, and even the NIH to help shape the curriculum and create internship and career placement opportunities. USG's unique position in Montgomery County has allowed me to attend international conferences and connect with top biotechnology professionals. I'm a member of the USG Student Council and the University System of Maryland Student Council, leadership roles that give me the chance to not only serve my fellow students from UMBC, but also those who attend USG from any of the 9 partner universities. There really is no other place quite like USG. Everything about it is truly innovative and incomparable. Thank you for your support of the universities at Shady Grove and of this bill, SB 864. Thank you.
Okay, you can pass it down to the gentleman on the end. Tell us who you are.
Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman and Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Jake Weissman, Assistant Vice President, Associate Vice President, Government Relations and Community Affairs at UMBC. And it is a pleasure to be here at this committee for the first time. I'm here present. Valerie Shears Ashby is finishing up her testimony over in House Appropriations, and if she can make it here in time, she'll be here to testify. But we're just here to say UMBC is strongly in support of this legislation. We've been incredibly proud of our partnership with universities at Shady Grove. We have over 500 students at USG, the second highest in the system, including 7 undergraduate programs, 6 graduate programs, and we see USG as this key leader on workforce issues. We've got an incredibly diverse population at the University of Shady Grove for UMBC, including 23% Hispanic students, 20% Black students, 22% white students, and a variety of students of backgrounds and professions. And the students there, as President Shears Ashby is fond of saying, are extraordinary. And the USG model gives them a viable option to obtain a bachelor's or master's degree without the cost of room and board. USG and UMBC are focused on student success and career readiness that meets our workforce needs and changes folks' economic trajectory. And we see USG as this innovative model that the state has supportive, and by making it this this designation will help to support it further. Senate Bill 864 will increase USG's visibility and help us attract even more students, and we would urge a favorable committee report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to the entire panel. Any questions? Vice Chair Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm struggling to come up with a question, because this would be a question and not just platitudes, but I just want to say thank you. I was proud to serve on the Chancellor's Board of Advisors for many years. Senator PJ Hogan, thank you for your really heroic service from the very beginning. I want to give a shout out to my friend and our former colleague, Jean Cunahan, to our former state treasurer, Nancy Kopp, to Charlene Nunley. There were people who were there at the very beginning helping craft this incredible institution for Montgomery County and for the state. And so thank you all for what you do. It's very exciting. So coming up with a quick question, Ann Kademian, what is one thing that this new branding will allow you to do that you're not sure that you can do as effectively right now?
It elevates our profile and the work that we're doing to create more collaboration with our academic partners and especially with employers. We see this model of employer engagement and academic collaboration at Shady Grove. We have 9 university partners at Shady Grove. We want to go from a place where our partners come with a brand and deliver through silos to a place that collaborates to serve students and to meet workforce demands in a more high-powered way, really able to scale what we're doing, serve more students, more employers in the work we're doing.
a closing quick comment. There is a very exciting incubator and contest for startup ideas that the students engage in. And so there's so many creative things that are being done at USG. So thank you. Thank you to the board. Thank you for your team, Mary Lang and Steve Simon, and all the people who are here and who help the students and faculty every day at USG. So thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, Jake Weissman's boss just walked in, so we're gonna let the president of UMBC come up here and say a few words. Madam President, Shears Ashby, again, weighing in on House Bill, Senate Bill 864.
I so appreciate it. Thank you so very much. I was coming from my other testimony, so I appreciate your patience.
We're at the Money Committee, that's important.
It was very important. Chair Feldman and Vice Chair Kagan, and committee members, I thank you for the opportunity to speak today in enthusiastic support of the USG bill, which designates it as the State of Maryland Regional Higher Education Community of Innovation. I am grateful to Senator King for introducing this very important legislation. I view USG as a truly unique asset in the state of Maryland and as a critical partner for UMBC. Just to give you a little bit of background, UMBC has just over 500 students at USG, which is the second highest number of students for an institution in the USM at USG. We have 7 undergraduate programs with social work and psychology as the largest, and 6 grad programs with our Masters of Professional Studies in Biotechnology as the largest. With these degrees, the majority of these students join the workforce and remain in their local communities. The demographics of these students, these UMBC students at USG, are equally as important, with 23% Hispanic students, 22% white, 20% Black, and the number that I pay attention to, 31% Pell eligible. And the students are just, I'll just say this, simply extraordinary. I had no idea when I came to UMBC of the gift that was Shady Grove. I read about it, but when I went there the first time and saw these students, we have something here that is pretty special and unique in the state of Maryland for really advancing community college and transfer students. And it is just such a gift to UMBC to have this institution as a part of the USM. And so I am so grateful that USG works so well together with UMBC. And I will say that this is exactly what public higher education should be doing, going to where students are, serving them where they are, cutting the cost by cutting room and board. Where for many of these students, they would not be able to have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree if they had to live on our campus. So I am truly grateful and highly supportive of raising the visibility of USG in hopes that we can serve even more Marylanders together.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Any questions for either Senator King or any of the panelists? Okay, seeing none, that concludes bill hearing on Senate Bill 864. Senator King, we're going to get you back up here for the next bill, Senate Bill 377. And we've got Brad Phillips, lone witness, signed up. We're going to bring Mr. Phillips up. Again, we're on Senate Bill 377. Senator King, it's all yours.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, while serving on the Kirwan Commission, which led to the blueprint for Maryland's future, we spent many hours talking about the recruitment and retention of quality educators. And now with the blueprint enacted, we are hearing from every county that they need help in recruiting and retaining teachers. Last year's Maryland Educator Shortage Reduction Act offered different ways to address this problem. And one of those ways was through the Teacher Development and Retention Program. This program offers support and stipends for aspiring educators in their first or second year at an eligible institution of higher education who ultimately pledge to fulfill a service obligation as a teacher in an area where there is a shortage of teachers. We know students are increasingly choosing community colleges as a first step to a 4-year degree, with cost savings as one of the main reasons. Unfortunately, the way the legislation was crafted, not all community colleges in the state are eligible to participate in the program. Senate Bill 377 will amend the eligibility for higher education institutions to participate in the Teacher Development and Retention Program and allow all 16 Maryland community colleges to participate. Passage of this legislation will open up the program for more Maryland students' participation and will encourage more students to consider a teaching career. And so I respectfully request a favorable report on Senate Bill 377.
Okay, thank you, Senator King. Let's go next to Mr. Phillips, and you're on the clock for 2 minutes, okay?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. On behalf of Maryland's 16 community colleges, I want to thank Senator King for introducing this legislation. I know she is as a supporter of not only the University of Shady Grove, but a strong champion for community colleges, our students, and importantly, teachers as well, with her work in actually establishing the task force that came up with the blueprint, if I recall that correctly. This bill will do exactly what the blueprint is trying to achieve, which is develop teachers and retain teachers. And I'll just give you 2 reasons as to why expanding this for community colleges is so beneficial in both of those veins of developing teachers and retaining teachers. Community college students live and work where they attend community college. So when they finish their degree, they tend to move back. They stay in Maryland. Over 90% of students who graduated at community colleges reside and stay in Maryland. That is a tremendous retention strategy for keeping teachers in Maryland. The other is community colleges are a reflection of the communities in which they serve, underrepresented populations, people of color. They are at community colleges. So finishing their degree, expanding these stipends to teachers and preparation programs at community colleges will bring more diversity to a field that is also in the spirit of what the blueprint was intending. So with that, I urge a favorable report and thank you again for introducing this legislation.
Okay, any questions for Senator King or Mr. Phillips? Okay, seeing none, that concludes bill hearing on Senate Bill 377. Thank you, Senator King, Mr. Phillips. Okay, we're gonna next go. Do we have Senator Muse here? Okay, let's wait a second or two. We're gonna take Senator Muse's bill next up and he's en route. So in the meantime, we do have, let me call up his sponsor panelists who he has designated. We've got Delegate Henson. Is Delegate Henson here?
She's on her way.
Okay, she's en route. Cameron Carden. Is Cameron Carden come up? Gay Green Carden. You guys are related, and we do have one virtual witness we'll take up after we go through the live witnesses. So let's wait on Senator Muse and Delegate Henson. Yeah. Yeah, the reason we're skipping Senator Klausmeyer is actually currently chairing a committee over in the Finance Committee, so that's why we're moving to Senator Muse. Let's just again, let's wait a little bit for the sponsor before we proceed. And he is literally walking over as we speak. What's that? Okay, they're both coming over, so we'll wait.
Mr. Chair, could we just say happy Valentine's Day? And we love our colleagues and we love each of you for making the effort to come to Annapolis to testify, to share your stories, experiences, and opinions. And while I've got the microphone, I'm going to introduce my friend and constituent, Marion White Horton, who is shadowing me today and learning all about our state government. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Senator Muse, you were in the House and we're, yes, perfect timing. We are going to take up next your bill, Senate Bill 567.
Thank you very much.
You proceed and then we'll take it from there.
Again, thank you very much and good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair,
Good afternoon and happy Valentine's Day to everybody. If you have any leftover chocolate, please send it up to my office. All of you good members of this committee, for the record, I'm C. Anthony Muse, and I'd like to, my panel is here, and maybe the delegate is also, Delegate Hinton is on her way over as well, if we could allow her. Senate Bill 567, Public Institutions of Higher Education Student Withdrawal. This would simply ensure that students experiencing mental health challenges receive the same support and consideration as those with physical health issues. Currently, students can provide medical documentation to withdraw and receive reimbursement if they are facing physical health challenges from colleges and universities. Currently, students can provide medical documentation to withdraw and receive reimbursement if they are facing physical health crisis or hospitalization. This legislation will put mental health challenges on equal footing. We can't continue, we cannot, in this day and age, continue to ignore the magnitude of mental health issues and the toll it takes on an individual in this day like never before. Depression, and on it goes. Depression is real, anxiety is real, bullying is no longer just a thing that happens and goes away. More and more young people are committing suicide because of being bullied. No student should have to choose between getting mental health treatment or losing thousands of dollars for tuition. Yet restrictive policies force this choice, and that is what this legislation will address. Research shows that 75% of lifetime mental health issues emerge by your mid-20s, which is exactly when most people are enrolled in higher education. Colleges must provide aid and handle these situations properly. We cannot risk the ramifications of delaying a student from getting the help that they need. Therefore, withdrawal and reimbursement for mental health issues should be available. It's a crucial step that I think this state needs to take. The legislation is named after Cameron Carden, whose mom I've known just about all of my life, who is here with us. And I'll let Cameron share his story as to the racial discrimination he faced on campus, which led to his mental health struggles. His story, I think, highlights the urgent need for improved mental health support in higher education. It's for those reasons that I'm asking for a favorable report.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Who wants to go next? Cameron or, okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Carden. Thank you for the opportunity to appear on behalf of Senate Bill 567. This bill is named after me as I face racial discrimination and mental health struggles on campus. Today, I'm on the road to recovery. I want to thank my lead sponsors, Delegate Shanika Henson and Senator Anthony Muse, for hearing the cry of a college student and the urgent need for improved mental health support in higher education. My educational journey started at a Christian high school 40 miles from home as an investment in my glory years. I signed a football opportunity at the prestigious St. Thomas More Prep School in Connecticut, where I was drafted to spend 4 years at Western New England University in Massachusetts. After completing my freshman year in Massachusetts, it was during the summer I attended a football camp led by the coach at Salisbury University. He recognized my talents in football and encouraged me to become a Seagull. I was accepted in fall 2019 and was extremely excited to continue my educational journey. It was 2 months in when I was confronted and paralyzed with racial graffiti on the walls of the liberal arts building, not once, but twice. I couldn't get out of bed to face my first class or classmates. I had no appetite to eat anything, and my sleep was awakened with nightmares. My happiness quickly turned to sadness. My extrovert behavior diminished to an introvert, and my confidence was scarred with fear. When I reached out to the university officials, they answered that if I withdrew, my parents would lose their money because mental illness is not a reason to get a refund. They said it would be different, Cameron, if you got hurt playing football. So I took one for the team and came home to get help for my mental state. The Cameron Carden Act provides a safety net for the students facing mental health crises,
You can finish.
offering them the opportunity to prioritize their well-being without juggling fear over financial repercussions. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Delegate Henson has joined us. You want to weigh in and then we'll go to our final witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just here to respond for questions. Thank you.
Why don't you, Senator, you want to pass the mic next to you
Yes.
and tell us who you are? And again, you'll be on our 2-minute clock. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Gay Green Carden. I'm the proud mother of Cameron Carden. And I would like to thank you for taking the time to hear our testimony. Today, I come before you in my most important role, which many of you share, that of a parent. Nothing is more important than your child's health and well-being, both physical and mental. Even in the throes of adolescence, when your child is at their least communicative, you develop a sixth sense for when something is out of order. Within seconds of asking your child how they're doing, you know if they're being burdened by something, even if they didn't openly acknowledge as much. That happened the weekend of October 11th, 2019, when I visited Salisbury University Parent Weekend. It was then I knew something was unusual and out of sorts. Sure enough, by the following Monday, Cameron called me saying that he feared for his safety and needed to leave campus immediately. That's when it emerged that Cameron was experiencing a physical and mental breakdown from sexually and racially charged graffiti, which engraved on the walls of his first class. And he was the one who reported, not once, but twice, to the university officials. Nobody should feel compelled to place their child in perceived danger over financial obligations. Yet, that is what the university administration sought to do through their words and actions, an injustice that this bill rightly seeks to prevent from recurring. In my professional life, I interact with mental health providers and patients, and I see firsthand how society ignores, discards, or outright dismisses their struggles simply because they lack the visibility of a wheelchair, a crutch, or a cast. To be clear, what we're discussing are indeed extenuating circumstances that make it possible for a student to attend class, to engage in coursework, and to be a functioning part of the university community.
You can finish up. Come on.
This bill is a crucial next step toward making sure that our higher education are safe and supportive places for our young people to grow as intellectual and as citizens. I ask for your support today of SB 567.
Okay, thank you. One virtual witness signed up favorable. Why don't we take that one witness, then we'll open up to questions, okay? So let's see if we find our virtual witness here on the television here. Okay, we're gonna need you to start your video. We've got Meghna Chandra Kasarian. And we'll wait and then. Well, why don't we do this while we're trying to get her on? Let's, any questions for Senator Muse or any of the panel? Including the gentleman who's the bill is named after, Senator Washington. Let's do that and then we'll take the virtual witness after the Q&A.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is not so much of a question, but just a comment. I just want to thank you, Mr. Carden, for having the strength and the bravery to come forward, and also, of course, support that your mother, your parent was here. I know how hard that was to see. But I guess I do have a question for the bill sponsor. Well, or maybe I could ask you, what was the follow-up? In other words, I know what this bill is about, but what is the policy when addressing a student not feeling safe on campus because of, who they are or who they're perceived to be? So there is the issue of being able to take the time you need to heal from those, but just what has been the follow-up, I guess, since the incident, and have there been any policies or things on that campus to make sure this doesn't happen to other students?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I'm happy to speak on the university's policies. The fiscal note as well, it went through the trouble of speaking to our universities and asking some of them to state with specificity what their policies are. And there is no policy that stretches across the system where mental health is allowed to be treated as an extenuating circumstance. The note does go into the fact that there is a drop add window where students can withdraw for any reason at all and receive full reimbursement. But after that drop add window, it is based on an extenuating circumstance. And the way they have interpreted that thus far has been a physical health challenge.
Right.
So there are certain instances where a student does have a physical challenge and can't complete classes, and then the tuition is reimbursed, and then it's prorated based on the number of days that they had spent in school and the remaining balance of the time they were out of school. So the bill would simply require our universities to have a policy that treats mental health crises the same as we do those physical injuries.
As a follow, it's what we count as an extenuating circumstance. So threat to safety. It sounds like there was a threat to safety that contributed to not feeling safe and mental health experiences. So I just wondered if there's specifically, do we have policies that recognize that threats to someone's safety based on their race or orientation or religion, is that something that's part of the policy? I'm just wondering if it's there, like what gets to count as a extenuating circumstance?
Thank you for the question. In this instance, Cameron, and I think he shared in his testimony, was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And the way that the bill is drafted is it's intended to capture when there is a diagnosis for a mental health injury.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional witnesses or questions for the witnesses? Okay, seeing none. Our virtual witness is not responding to our request to turn on the camera, so we're gonna declare that Senate Bill 567 is hereby heard. And thank you for your testimony. And so again, that completes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 567.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
Yeah, may I? You also have in your packet
why don't you go by the mic here? So
you also have in your packet a letter from the doctor, describing exactly what happened and what led him to do that, make that diagnosis.
Clarify that I know that there are many reasons why people experience mental health. And so there is a mental health, status requirement. I get that's what you're doing with this bill, but there are also, other ways that people that affect their mental health that perhaps might not have a specific diagnosis. That's all I was trying to explore. Thank you.
Good day to all of you. I hope you're out early enough to go to dinner.
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, thank you, Senator. I do see Senator Alonzo Washington in the hearing room. So we're going to start with Senate Bill 455. Senator Washington, you are the lone witness, and you can proceed with, again, Senate Bill 455.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Great to be here again with you all. I promise it won't be my last time. You get to see me multiple more times because I love this committee so much. For the record, Senator Alonzo Washington here to present on SB 455. What this bill does, it prohibits the county boards from charging students for completion of the IB and AP courses. It additionally prohibits public institutions of higher education from charging any fees to in-state high school graduates relating to the college admissions process. As we all know, we recently have been trying to tackle at least the issue with the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. Right now, college is somewhat accessible, but not completely accessible. You'll see multiple bills that I bring to this committee and that others have brought to this committee, like Senator Augustine, to see how we can tackle this issue that exists. Right now, students pay about, if you take an exam, if you are under the blueprint, in order to have your examination free of charge, you have to pay, you would have to hit a benchmark that they already come to. Then you would have to then you would have to actually make sure you hit that benchmark, and you can only be in 11th and 12th grade. So if you hit that benchmark and you're in 9th and 10th grade, you won't be eligible to make sure that your exam in AP and IB is free for you. This is a barrier that exists for a lot of Black and brown families, and this isn't just for low income students. This is for all families, leveling the playing field for everyone, so that we can make sure that students have access to these courses and these exams. And the barrier that, if I'm gonna have to pay $135 for the IP or AP course, I won't take it. I won't take, because I know my mom won't be able to afford that. So that would be a barrier for me, because I know I won't, even though I know I might pass it, I'm still not going to do it because my mom won't be able to help me pay for that $135. And if I have multiple classes, if I have 4, which I did, just by the way, if you have multiple classes, then you have to pay that $135 times 4 or times 8. That's ridiculous. We shouldn't have to do that. And yes, there is a fiscal note to this because we should be paying for this for these students and for all students throughout the state of Maryland, so that they can enter. The purpose that it's free to take the class, but it's not free to take the course, to take the exam. Where does that make sense for us as a state? Other states have done this, and we got to make sure we do it for our students too. The other part of the bill, which I think is a really interesting piece, is that we charge a fee to apply to some of these colleges and universities in our state for in-state students. What I believe is that we shouldn't have to charge that fee for our students. There are waivers out there, but if I'm applying to all of our schools, and man, by the grace of God, hopefully I get into one, that $65 or $100 could add up to $1,400. Why should we keep this barrier that exists to access to college and eliminate that barrier, so that we can make sure that we have that all students, no matter where they come, where they live, have equal access to college? And that's where I am. I want to level the playing field for these students that live here in the state of Maryland. And this is for everyone, no matter where you live, no matter what school you go to here in the county and in the state, excuse me. And so for these reasons and many more, and students that do not want to pay these fees and they see them as a barrier to access to higher education, I ask for a favorable report for this bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Washington. Any questions for our Senate sponsor? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 455. And we're next going to go back to you, Senator Washington, for Senate Bill 517. You've designated several folks as part of your sponsor panel. I'll call up some names: Andrea Mansfield, Lisa Jones, Mamuna Bangura. Oh, well, actually, a couple of these are virtual. I'm sorry. Deja Cobbs, Saeed, that's also virtual. Joseph Fisher. Okay, who else looking? Why don't you come up to the witness table? We do have a couple of virtual witnesses as well. And some of you have signed up favorable, and some of you have signed up favorable with amendments. So you're part of the sponsor panel. We'll have to clarify all that. But Senator Washington, back to you on Senate Bill 517. Are these the 4 folks that you want up here?
They look familiar.
Okay. Okay, we're going to start with you to explain the bill, Senate Bill 517.
Thank you. 1 second, Mr. Chairman. Let me get this back. There we go. All the way in the back. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Senator Alonzo Washington here to present on Senate Bill 517. I'm really happy to be here. This bill, SB 517, will transfer the responsibility for administering the Next Generation Scholars Program from the Maryland State Department of Education to the Maryland Higher Education Commission. For those not familiar with the Next Generation Scholars Program, a bill in which I sponsored in the House when I was there, it is designed to provide opportunities for low-income students to get the supports they need through middle school and through high school to qualify for all financial assistance, federal, state, and institutional, to go and succeed and matriculate through high school and to college. For the lowest income students, They can be pre-qualified to receive the Guaranteed Access Grant Program, which is designed to cover the remaining unmet need for a student, when combined with the federal Pell Grant, of which I was a recipient of all of these. While the program has been successful, we believe that transferring the administration of this program to MHEC with dedicated staffing will improve the program's overall operations and provide more resources and outreach to nonprofits who perform this great work. These are nonprofits, these are grassroots nonprofits in which you'll hear from that do perform really great work, and they need the supports that's necessary, that MHEC will have the necessary tools to help. If the purpose of this program is to increase student access to financial aid, MHEC needs to be more visible, needs to have a more visible role to do so. Not that MSDE has been a bad partner. In fact, they have not, and would like to continue to collaboratively work with MHEC to provide important data and outreach to eligible school systems. SB 517 was simply placed a greater responsibility with the agency that is more closely aligned with the program's mission. It has been part of this has already been taking the lead on providing information to eligible nonprofits regarding financial aid on how to get students pre-qualified for the Guaranteed Access Grant, providing invaluable toolkit information and guidelines for the program, and has the data to better track the outcomes of students as they transition from high school to college. Respectfully, I request the committee to give SB 517 a favorable report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Okay, do we have a sequence here, Senator?
Let this guy go first.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, tell us who you are. And again, you guys are all each going to be on the clock, 2-minute clock. Okay, but first tell us your name.
Thank you, Senator. So proud of you. Been in the program since 8th grade. Now you're a state senator. Who would have known? I'm Joe Fisher. I'm the CEO and founder of First Generation College Bound, also the chair of Maryland Alliance of College Affordability and Equity. I'm here to testify in support of SB 517, the Next Generation Scholars Program, to be administered by the Higher Education Commission with the amendment. This is due to MHEC's knowledge and experience of need-based financial aid for low-income students, supporting them to attend an affordable college. The Maryland State Department of Education has done well administering the grant. However, it does not have the need-based financial aid knowledge and experience in the area of financial aid to address the needs and concerns of the NGS program. As a result, since year one of the program, MSDE has reached out to MHEC for support. I find this understandable, as MSDE's focus is on students being college and career ready, and I understand that being a 35-year retired educator. However, for those students who are eligible for the need-based financial aid, completing the process with the support of the NGS program is most important, most valuable. The MEHEC funds awarded will enable the students to attend Maryland State Best Fit and Affordable College. And I sent you some data on that I've done over 33 years. And you can see we make sure that our kids go to college that are affordable for them to attend with little to no debt. And we've done that over these years. You can see the alumni. Recognizing the importance of MHEC administering the grant, NGS programs recognize and appreciate partnering with the schools, which have done a great job. We've been in there and they've helped us to find these kids. During my years of promoting college affordability, low-income kids with the support of the Maryland Education Commission, there was no doubt in my mind when I started, they could attend college and graduate with little to no debt. Due to the financial resources of the Maryland Higher Education Commission, there is no excuse for any student, low-income student in the state of Maryland, okay, to attend college and graduate if they desire, especially if they have the support of the NGS programs, which are available throughout the state. As I close, the Alliance is in favor of SB 517 with amendments. I want to thank you for providing me this space and time to advocate for low-income students and parents whom the Alliance represents.
Just to clarify, you made reference to amendments. What amendment? Okay.
I'll
okay,
address those.
Okay,
Mr.
fair
Chair. Yeah,
enough.
thank you.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
let's hear about those
Yes,
amendments.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Madam Vice Chair.
Okay.
Andrea Mansfield with Manis Canning and Associates representing the Maryland Alliance for College and Affordability. Actually really honored and proud to be here today because for some of you remember, I worked at the Maryland Higher Education Commission many years ago and was the director for the State Office of Financial Assistance. But I heard a lot about the infamous Joe Fisher and the great work that he does in the Prince George's County school system. So it's really great to be here at the table with him. But yes, we do have some amendments. We've been talking with both MSTE and MHEC about the legislation, as well as the Alliance partners. And we have some amendments that will really further clarify the roles of MHEC and MSTE that they will play as this transfer takes place. We also have some amendments dealing with financial aid, that this program is really about educating about all forms of financial aid, not just the pre-qualification of the Guaranteed Access Grant program, because we want to ensure that students, as the outreach is done and they work with the students and their programs, that students really become aware of all resources to be able to go on to college. But and those lowest income, we want to pre-qualify for the Guaranteed Access Grant. We're also talking with them about resources because as this transfers, they have talked about needing position to help manage this program. So we're having those conversations. So I think those would be generally amendments. We don't actually have them drafted up yet, but they're still in conversation. But that's what they would do. We're hoping to get those finalized very soon for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Want to just pass the mic down, go down the table? Okay, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Deja Cobbs. I'm the Director of Program Services at First Generation College Bound, and I'm here to support Senate Bill 517, administering the NGS grant or program through the Maryland Higher Education Commission. First Generation College Bound is a nonprofit organization, has been working in Prince George's County for almost 34 years now. First Generation College Bound, we provide comprehensive support to students from low income families to enroll and graduate from college. And our organization, our work with the students and families to navigate the complicated processes of preparing and applying to college. A critical part of that is financial aid and identifying what those need-based scholarships are. Due to our enrollment, we're able to identify what state grants or state aid a student is eligible for prior to their senior year. This includes state grant scholarships as well as year scholarships, legislative scholarships that we encourage our students to apply for. In order for students to complete the process to receive this funding, we have to work very closely with the families, the students, and the Office of Financial Assistance of the Maryland Higher Education Commission. It takes time to build those trusting relationships with our students and families in order for them to complete the financial aid process, even while in college, as you will hear today. Over the past 33 years, we have assisted 2,813 students who have entered college, 1,103 students who have graduated from college, and there are another 1,871 currently in college. In our high school graduating class of 2023, our students received $3.4 million in financial aid, which is a total of $13.6 million they will receive over the next 4 years. Due to this recent legislation passed as well regarding FAFSA completion, we provide FAFSA information sessions at all of our 8 high schools in Prince George's County. Last year alone, we spoke with a total of 1,111 seniors, and they were able to gain the understanding of how to apply for your legislative scholarships, create an MD-CAPS account, and be able to understand how to complete the Maryland State Financial Aid application. First Generation College Bound wants to collaboratively work with the Maryland Higher Education Commission in providing the outreach support to low-income students to leverage the state financial aid to attend an affordable college and graduate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Why don't you pass that down? Okay, you'll be our final in-person witness.
Thank you and good afternoon. I'm Lisa Jones. I'm a First Generation College Bound alum. So, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to offer my testimony in support of altering the administrator of the Next Generation Scholars of Maryland program to be that Maryland Higher Education Commission rather than the Department of Education, State Department of Education. As a First Generation College Bound alum who received College Bound services to attend college and earn a degree, I advocate for advocacy to information on financial aid resources and sources specifically, and available for low-income students to obtain Maryland state federal and institutional aid to make college affordable. So I am a 1994 graduate of Laurel High School who was the first in my family to attend college. With my parents' love and encouragement to seek higher education, along with first generation college bound's blueprint to harness resources to help realize my college affordability, I am proud to hold a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Georgetown University and a Master of Public Health in Chronic Disease Epidemiology with a concentration in Social Behavioral Sciences from Yale University. First Generation College Bound offered SAT, ACT, exam preparation, and the FAFSA workshop services for me to build my confidence and mindset of becoming a prospective college student. First Generation College Bound also supported my sister with the same services and helped her with college admission fees assistance. Such educational services that was provided from this organization provided are invaluable, and I wish all high school students and their families are aware of and have the same advocate to promote a post-secondary educational path towards affordability. I thank the chair, vice chair, and members of the committee for hearing my testimony, and I respectfully urge a favorable vote on the Senate Bill 517. Thank you.
Okay, we've got two virtual witnesses, but why don't we, we'll take the panel and then we'll take after that, two virtual witnesses. Any question for Senator Washington or any of the panel? Okay, Senator Augustine.
Thank you, Chair Feldman. I really just want to say thank you to Mr. Fisher. You know, he just poured so much into so many of our kids, and I'm just really grateful for that. Do you support this legislation? It's a question.
Yes.
Thank you. And so do I.
Thank you so much, Senator Augustine.
You would have thrown us all off since he's on the sponsored panel. Okay. Although I have to say, there was a year when somebody heard the testimony was on the sponsored panel, and after hearing the senator, they wanted their name off the bill and was opposed. That's I've never seen that happen before or after, but that did happen. Okay, the other Senator Washington, Senator Mary Washington.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator, so much for bringing this bill. And of course, as my colleague said, I want to thank College Bound and Next Generation Scholars for the work you do. You provide two questions. You provided an alumni school rankings for bachelor's programs. And what is this exactly? And then I'll ask the question. It says as of 2022, and are these graduates of your program?
Right.
Where they all
Yes.
are? And is it over a particular time?
Yes, those are over the 34 years. I started this program in Alonzo's neighborhood, the housing community projects in this community. You know, it's the only one program that has started, and I'm still there. And so that is the nucleus of everything that's going on, because I knew these kids had money to attend an affordable college. So what has happened is that, you know, values and beliefs are the most difficult challenge to resolve. Kids think they can go anywhere they want to go, but we make sure they go where they can afford. So those students who listen to us, they attended school in the Maryland. That's why they're ranked in the top 10, all the Maryland state schools, because we knew they were affordable, leveraging these funds. Those who went out of state, such as Lisa, she went to Georgetown University, which is one of 100 colleges out of 4,000 in the country that will meet your full need if you can't afford it. And you will see Columbia on that list. You will see maybe USC on that list. You will see other that are full need. Those other schools that they chose to attend, if they had to take out loans, that was up to them. But they got the truth from us, so they can go to school to an affordable college and graduate.
And I just could say, so
yes,
you listed 8 at the bottom of the table. It's 800 some. So that's why I was wondering.
Oh, that's 8.
Yeah, it says 878, and I know you've served more than that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so this must be a certain time period. But what I note is that your top 2 places are Bowie State and University of Maryland College Park. So out of the 800 or so, and that's more than 2 times the next rank. So are a lot of the students going to Bowie and then Towson's number 4, so or College Park? So are your students going to those places? Is that where most
Yes.
students end up going?
Yes, so those numbers, they represent 800,
Mhm.
and those total numbers represent bachelor's degrees
Mhm.
that they've earned, right?
And
And
then
so
you,
that's what they represent, yes.
and again, I'm just interested in your part. You mentioned some of what you said two things. You said you wished every student had access to this. And then you're focusing a lot on the financial aspects of a student's making a decision, or even contemplating whether or not they could attend college. So of your 34 years, what is the major thing that is keeping Maryland students from going to one of our state universities or going to pursuing a 4-year degree? What would you?
They didn't have a
Is it-
Joe Fisher in front of them.
Yeah.
It is, Deja, you want to
I
talk
was
about
gonna say,
challenges?
Yeah, so I've been with First Generation for 7 years, going on 8, and next month actually. And a lot of times it's misinformation that's being provided by, of course, people that care about these kids. But if you don't know and you don't have a reference point and you trust someone and they're telling you what to do, but they don't have the facts of the reality, of course, naturally, you end up being in those predicaments at the end of the year, making those phone calls, looking for scholarships, or some students may not even go to college. They may have what we call summer melt during the summertime. And so we try to make sure that our students are informed and they are made aware, and also that customized, looking at their academic and financial profile. We put that together, and each plan is customized for every single one of our students directly to their profile.
And then just, this is the last bit. So we're moving this from MSDE
Yes.
to MHEC, but it does
Yes.
look like you made a statement about the decision about whether one could even consider going to college happens much earlier. Could you speak to that?
Yes, I can agree. In terms of my personal experience, one going to the school that I went to, great program, offered a lot of opportunities, but I didn't know outside of just the FAFSA meaning to fill out the form, that was what's required. So my family are immigrants, and so they don't understand that process, or in fact, what the timing of which to receive that information. And for me, what's I think more unique, but not so unique in many families, is that I have siblings. So my sister and I were only 1 year apart, 17 months to be exact. So we were back to back. So the decision in regards to what school do I go to may dictate for my sister what her school selection will be. That's a huge impact. And if you don't have that information ahead of time, but rather wait for the first child in the family or first person in the family to make that decision in their senior year, that's maybe too late.
And First Generation Scholars Program started off as a pilot program, and then we extended it forever, which I'm really proud of that we did that. And when you talked about earlier on, First Generation Scholars helps students when they're in middle school to help make that decision earlier on and help guide them. What we believe under this bill is if we moved it from MSDE to MHEC, MHEC will have the tools necessary to help and support nonprofits like First Generation College Bound and the other program and the other ones that are in the coalition, to make sure that they have the tools that they need to be able to maintain the program and attract these students to their programs too.
And perhaps increase, because I'm sure you
Correct.
feel as though you could serve thousands more
Oh,
students
yes.
across the state of Maryland.
Yes.
Okay, great.
We'll take an amendment to for the fiscal note to
Thank you.
improve. on this
Thank you
one.
so much. No, I'm not trying to get in that kind of trouble. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you to this panel. We do have 2 virtual witnesses, and then we'll get to Senator Klausmeyer, but we've got 2 virtual witnesses, Mamuna Bangura. Well, she's right here. Right. Yeah, the second virtual witness has dropped off, but Mamuna, you're up. You've got 2 minutes, and we can see you. And why don't you weigh in? You signed up, I think, consistent with all the panelists right before you. So why don't you proceed?
Hello, my name is Mamuna Bangura and a student in First Generation College Bound College Access Program. First Generation College Bound has been a gateway to opportunity and has provided support throughout my college journey. One important benefit is getting to know more about state grants and scholarships that I wouldn't have known about. Being a part of First Generation College Bound has allowed me to receive advice and encouragement. FGCB ensures I know of the state grants and scholarships that I may qualify for through my MD CAPS account. by giving constant support, making sure I am equipped with the tools and support needed for my education. FGCB workshops allow us students and parents to learn more about financial aid and what they have to offer. Field trips help us make real-world connections by learning more about our potential careers. FGCB is a family for us first-generation students, allowing us to talk to past students and mentors for a sense of encouragement in this college journey. In conclusion, I believe First Generation College Bound has allowed me to take important steps in furthering my education while providing knowledge on financial aid and college to make the best fit for me, while also being a constant support. Without FGCB, trying to fill and apply for college, grants, and scholarships as a first-generation student would have been a challenge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our virtual witness? Okay, seeing none, that concludes bill hearing on Senate Bill 517. And with that, we're going to bring up Senator Klausmeyer on Senate Bill 334. And Senator, there's several witnesses you've designated as your sponsor panelists. And then actually there's four sponsor panelists favorable, and then one, see Caitlin McDonough, we'll just bring her up too. So I've got Michael Patty, Hannah Salisbury, Tamu Al-Alak, Caitlin McDonough, and Robin Elliott. So I think we're filling up the table. Senator Klausmeyer, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Vice Chair and committee. It's great to be here. Senate Bill 334 expands the eligibility from the Maryland Dent Care Program to include part-time dentists and dental hygienists who are practicing under a general or limited license. The bill also authorizes the Office of Student Financial Assistance within the Maryland Higher Education Commission in collaboration with the Maryland Department of Health to establish prorated loan repayment assistance for part-time dentists and dental hygienists. The program currently requires participants to be full-time, which narrows the range of providers who can participate. Expanding the loan repayment assistance to qualified part-time dentists and dental hygienists will help address the dental provider shortage. With the rising demand for dental services, it is crucial to have a sufficient number of dental hygienists to meet patients' needs. By offering loan repayment assistance, dental practices can incentivize part-time dental hygienists to stay in the field and contribute to the overall oral health of the population. Other loan repayment programs in Maryland for health professionals are open to part-time practitioners, including for registered nurses, advanced practice registered nurses, certified nursing assistants, and certified medical technicians, as well as for physicians and physicians' assistants. The National Health Care Service Corps and at least 14 other states provide for part-time eligibility for dental providers, and that's Arizona, California, Colorado, Delaware, Massachusetts, Montana, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Washington, and West Virginia. Oh, I'm glad I knew all those abbreviations. I asked the committee for your support and favorable report on Senate Bill 334. So,
okay, thank you, Senator. Who would you like to speak next? We'll go through the whole panel and then we'll open it up. Ms. Elliott, you go next. Robin Elliott.
Good afternoon. Robin Elliott here today on behalf of the Maryland Dental Action Coalition. This bill is really a modification to a bill that Senator Klausmeyer put in last year to expand the Maryland Dent to Care program. At the Dental Action Coalition, we know that there's a need, particularly in rural areas, for more dental providers. So we reached out to our community health center partners who are at the table today and asked what we could do. We obviously would love more funding, but that's not what this bill is about. It is about providing more flexibility as to who can participate in the program. Making it part-time is really key to attract people who have childcare responsibilities or elder care responsibilities. That's probably all of us at some time in our life. For the dental provider community, this is particularly important. 95% of dental hygiene students are women. And now about 58% of students in dental school are women. Women are more likely to need to work part-time. And so this bill would really open up the program to be more diverse and flexible. And it's something our community health centers really would like to see. We'd appreciate a favorable report.
Okay, who wants to go next?
You want to go? You want to go?
If you don't, just because I have another bill in
Okay,
Senate
well,
Finance.
Ms. McDonough, why
I
don't you go next?
apologize. Thank you. Caitlin McDonough here in support of Senate Bill 334 on behalf of the Maryland Dental Hygiene Association. Thank you to MDAC and the FQHCs for really championing this legislation. We were excited to be included in the Dent Care program in the legislation that passed last year. And I think the kind of important perspective from hygienists in the population that make up that part of the health workforce is they're going to be more impacted by kind of smaller repayment amounts. It really does have an impact on their decision making about whether they are, are staying part-time, staying in the profession, serving in certain areas. The women primarily that make up our workforce are often mothers or dealing with other kind of time constraints. So being able to work part-time and still take advantage of this will help address the shortages, and we fully support the legislation. And I apologize, Mr. Chair, unless you have questions.
Okay, no,
Okay,
that's,
great.
it's all
Thank
good.
you.
You are hereby released.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you,
let's go next.
Good afternoon. My name is Hannah Salisbury. I'm the Dental Clinical Quality Director for Choptank Community Health Systems, a federally qualified health center on Maryland's Eastern Shore. I have proudly served as a clinical dental hygienist for 9 years, but began my career over 16 years ago as a dental assistant. When I'm not being referred to as the professional titles I just mentioned, I'm commonly referred to as mom, wife, sister, and daughter. And I feel strongly that whatever title I am being called, either professionally or personally, that they are equally as important. I am testifying today on behalf of my dental hygiene colleagues, most of whom are females, who feel the same sense of equality of importance in both their professional and personal lives. I would like to highlight the importance of including part-time dental professionals with a special focus on dental hygienists in Maryland's loan repayment programs. A 2023 study by a well-known recruitment agency estimates that 93.1% of dental hygienists are female. And anecdotally, in my 2.5 years as a recruiter, I have yet to interview, hire, or come across a resume for a male dental hygienist. Yet what I have witnessed is that about half of the applicants I've interviewed, all of which who have been female, have been interested in part-time dental hygiene positions to foster a positive work-life balance. With loan repayment programs being a primary benefit for working in federally qualified health centers, I have to wonder how many of these applicants could we successfully transition into employees if the state of Maryland loan repayment program was an option for them. By not extending loan repayment to part-time dental hygienists and dentists, as well as internationally trained dentists in the state of Maryland, I believe we are negatively impacting patient access to services that we FQHCs can provide. I urge you to consider supporting this bill. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Vice Chairman, the members of the committee. My name is Dr. Allah. I hold many hats and many titles. The first title is I'm the Associate Clinical Dental Director at Choptank. I am the Director for Advanced Education in General Dentistry Residency Program, and I am the Director for Preceptorship Program for International Dentists. I'm here to support the bill and to answer any questions related to internationally trained dentists for the committee. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Patty.
And Michael Patty here today on behalf of the Maryland Community Health System, a network of federally qualified health centers across the state. And at this point, I'm just going to say me too.
We like that. Is any questions for Senator Klausmeyer or any of the panel? Okay, Senator Washington.
Again, thank you. Thank you, Senator Klausmeyer, for bringing the bill. I'm just asking, there's a portion, you've talked about the portion of the bill that refers to expanding it to part-time. But there's another portion that talks about a general license or a limited license. I just wasn't aware that there's two different, and can you talk about what a general license is and what a limited license is?
Senator Washington, thank you for that question. We only had 2 minutes and it's so I appreciate the opportunity to spend more time on this. So internationally trained dentists, when they come to the US, their pathway to licensure goes through a limited license. And part of their a pathway involves taking the last 2 years of dental school within the US. And then they go on and practice for a couple of years at a federally qualified health center or a local health department. So what the bill does is recognize that that US portion of their education, that they would be eligible as well. And it's a really important recruitment and retention component to making sure that, particularly in our rural areas, that's where we see a lot of internationally trained dentists really helping to boost our numbers. So thank you for asking that question so I could share all of that information.
Okay, Senator Carrozza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Klossmeyer, for the bill. And I think my question would probably be directed to Ms. Elliott. You know, I'm very sensitive to the provider shortages in the district that I represent, all of Somerset, all of Worcester, which is of course from the Delaware line to the Virginia line, and more than half of Wycomico County. And it's one of the reasons why I'm working so hard on my physician's assistance bill with Ms. Elliott on another bill. But I just wanted to, so being sensitive to where these health professional shortage areas are, the HPSA, one is looking for a nod from the Madam Vice Chair, the health professional shortage areas. A concern has been raised by the Maryland State Dental Association that because of the part-time nature that these health professionals would be far less likely to stay in the health professional shortage area, which of course, from my standpoint, would defeat the purpose. So I just wanted to try to address that issue head on.
Great. Thank you for that question. You know, I think the state has looked at this. It's one of the reasons why in every other loan repayment program that the state has, it recognizes part-time people. And you all actually made that change, I think may have been in 2022 for the physician and PA loan repayment. And that is really to recognize that sometimes people need to work less than 40 hours. If they are working less than 40 hours because they have childcare commitments or elder care commitments, that means they have family in the area. So we aren't concerned about the part-time nature. We actually think those are providers who are likely very connected to their communities because they are part-time because they're taking care of family. They stay in the area, and we haven't seen any data that demonstrates otherwise.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, we do have one virtual witness signed up favorable, and then we do have some unfavorables. Jan Krebs, you're up, and you've got, again, 2 minutes. You've signed up straight favorable.
Thank you so much. My name is Jan Krebs, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the midwives in Maryland and the American College of Nurse Midwives. I missed the very first part of the presentation, but it's clear to me that we've talked about the enormous shortage of dental providers in Maryland. And I would add that I so much appreciate your efforts to increase access to dental care over the last few years, because as a midwife, I know that as many as 1 in 4 women have active cavities, and it's not always the women you think it is. So yes, there is a clinical reason, but The more important reason to me is an equity issue. Most dental hygienists are women. More than half of current dental students are women. And as was said, we know that women are much more likely to be the ones at home with parents, with children who need a flexible schedule in order to care for them. So why are those who need to work part-time, whether it's personal health or family or any other reason, being further disadvantaged? They're earning less already. Why are they being further disadvantaged by not being eligible for loan repayment? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our virtual witness? Okay, thank you, Ms. Krebs. Now let's go to the unfavorables. Thank you to the proponents panel, Senator Klausmeyer.
Thank you.
Dan Doherty, I see Ms. Doherty here. Thomas Beckett, unfavorable, and we also have one virtual witness unfavorable, Charles Doring. So, Ms. Doherty, why don't you weigh in here? I don't see, is Mr. Beckett here in the?
Dr. Beckett has to be over in HGO, so that's
gotcha.
why he's not here.
Okay, then it's all you in person, then we'll go to our virtual witness, Mr. Doring, after that, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Dan Doherty here here on behalf of the Maryland State Dental Association. I'd like to say something up front. A lot of the pro testimony seem to couch women versus men. Our association's immediate past president, current president, and president-elect are all women. So it's not a man versus female situation. This program was established to address two vital issues. Most dental students from the University of Maryland or who are Marylanders that went elsewhere are coming out with student loan debt of $150,000 to $200,000. We are also trying to address the lack of dental care being given to underserved areas. So the law requires they spend 3 years devoting 30% of their practice to these health professional shortage areas. We increased, and it was the association that put the proposal in, we increased this to include dental hygienists last year. There are currently 15 dentists receiving benefits, 5 in each of the 3 years of their obligation. There were 23 applicants. There's only money for 2 positions. We don't want to dilute the amount of money available for someone that's going to commit 3 years, hopefully set roots in, by drawing it off to pay part-time individuals. The day may come when the money is there to do that, but it's not now. With respect to I'm going to run out of time, but with respect to the general versus limited license, a limited license is issued to a foreign trained dentist who commits to giving 2 years to public clinic service.
You can finish up, Gorm.
So in essence, they are already doing this because it's one of their pathways to get a license, a general license. They then have to pass a number of tests. They have other pathways that don't have them awarded a limited license, but they are not trained in the U.S., their debt is not in the U.S., and they should not benefit from the program. So we would respectfully urge that this be given an unfavorable report. I do that regretfully because the sponsor is someone I have worked long and hard for many years on dental access.
Let's go to our, do we lose our virtual witness, Mr. Doring? Who's there? Okay, let's go to our virtual witness.
I'm here.
Mr. Doring, yeah, we'll take you and then we'll open
I'm
up
here.
questions.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Okay, so it's all yours. 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I took the camera off because I have an unstable internet connection at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we can hear you though, so just talk.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm here. It's hard to say opposing this bill because I like the concept, and actually I have a male dental hygienist in my office and a female dental partner in my office. Charles Doring, North Bethesda Dental Associates here with the Maryland State Dental Association. So my concern goes back to when we passed House Bill 290 last year. The intent was to increase the number of dentists and adding dental hygienists into this loan assistance repayment program with the hope of them relocating as part of the program into these underserved HIPSA locations. I'm not sure exactly what happened between the Department of Health and the Department of Education who actually funds this program, but the funding was never put in the budget. We would love to fund all 23 applicants for this year's program. The Office of Oral Health would like to do 8 dentists and 5 dental hygienists to kick off the program, but there's absolutely no funding there this year. So I'm opposing the bill, but I strongly am advocating that we get full funding for this dent care loan repayment program, because as Mr. Doherty said, and according to the American Dental Association of Education, it's almost $300,000 a student debt. Dental school is the most expensive professional school, much more expensive than medical school. So for those reasons, I oppose the bill, but I do very much support full funding for the program. So maybe add part-timers on a prorated basis at a later date. Thank you.
Do we have questions for Mr. Doherty or for our virtual witness, Mr. Dorsey? Doring, I'm sorry, apologize. Mr. Doring or Mr. Doherty? Senator Washington.
Thank you. And again, thank you for helping us understand the bill a little more. Just first, just information and comment, and then I have a question. Well, maybe I'll start with a question. Do we have loan repayment programs for, I guess, physicians? Do we have a special program?
There is. I don't know the
And-
details about it, but there is a physician care program.
Right. And so, and I don't know if we include physicians assistants in those, but I'd be interested to know what the funding is for that compared to this. So if you could get me back with that, that'd be
I'll
very
do my
helpful.
best.
Because
Dealing with
I-
the budget's not my strength.
Well,
I'll try and
yeah,
find it.
I think you can find someone that can find the number for.
I think I can too.
And just the other is, I just want to be clear that the observation that a particular field is increasingly female is not about positioning men versus women. And, we're not asking you to provide any bona fides that some of my best friends are women hygienists or some of my, my colleague, I know a man that's a hygienist. It's about the nature of work given who's participating in that. And so it's really making an observation that women historically have, even while they have professional degrees, have other responsibilities that keep them completely out of a workforce. And so if we can allow for a part-time execution of this, then we might be able to facilitate the participation of all eligible licensees, including those that are women. So that's there. So yeah, that was just my two. I wanted to know how much if there's some comparison, and I definitely hear the issue about, but I guess the question is the program doing what the legislature intended to do? And it sounds like it's not, because it was never funded. So I think that is an issue we'll have to look at.
I think up until this budget year,
Yes.
they have done it to the degree that was permissible then. So basically, there were 5 dentists getting in the program. There was no authority for dental hygienists until October 1st. However, this year, with increased demands for more money for the dental students and the dental hygienists, the number of positions funded has dropped to about half.
I know this is not a budget committee, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding so prior to this year, the fund would have funded all applicants, or was the fund?
No,
Not-
they received applicants, they reviewed whether or not there was a need, looked at their willingness to commit, and they evaluated and pared the applicants down. But they were able to fund 5 for the first year, 5 for the second, and 5 for the third.
Okay, for 3 years.
This year, they're only going to be able to fund half that.
So the budget was cut for. what
That's
you're
my
able to-
understanding.
Okay, well, we'll just check that. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
Any additional questions for either Mr. Doherty or Mr. Doran? Okay, seeing none, that concludes.
Thank
bill
you very
hearing on
much.
Senate Bill 334. Thank you, Senator Klausmeyer. Going to go next to Senator Brooks, Senate Bill 543. And Senator, we think you're let's see, hold on a second. I think you're the only witness.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay. So,
Alrighty.
do your thing, Senate Bill 543, Senator Brooks.
All right, thanks, Chair Feldman, Vice Chair Kagan, members of my great committee. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you Senate Bill 543. For the record, I'm Senator Ben Brooks, representing the 10th Legislative District in Baltimore County. Okay. This bill, institution of higher education admission standards, prohibition on consideration of legacy preference. The purpose of this bill is to eliminate legacy preference admission in any higher education institution that receives state funding. In the wake of the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action admission policies, it is more prevalent now than ever to address all favored treatments during an admission. Legacy admission gives preferential considerations for the children of alumni. Post this detrimental decision, President Biden, along with the Justice Department and the Department of Education, offered guidance with the help of higher education institutions as they continue to pursue campuses that are racially diverse and that include students from a wide range and viewpoints, talents, background, and experiences. Further, the guidance noted colleges should reconsider whether policies such as preferences for children of previous graduates or children of donor run counter to the efforts to promote equal opportunities for all students. Many top universities in Maryland, such as Johns Hopkins and the University of Maryland system, do not use legacy preferences in their admissions. Before eliminating legacy considerations, the incoming Johns Hopkins 2009 class had more students with a legacy status than it had students who qualified for Pell Grants. Today, those trends are reversed, with nearly 1/5 of the students admitted to the university qualifying for Pell Grants and just 3.5% having a legacy connection to the university. Legacy consideration in college admissions is a practice from a different era and has no place in a democratic society that values merit, hard work, and equity above all else. Further, any higher education institution with a serious commitment to empowering all those from disadvantaged backgrounds can clearly see how legacy preference gives an unfair advantage to privileged applicants at the expense of others. While many Maryland schools have already moved away from the legacy consideration in their admission, SB 543 will ensure that no college receiving state funding undermines our Maryland core values. For the sake of equity and fairness in the higher education admissions process, I am requesting a favorable report. Thank you.
Okay, then, thank you, Senator Brooks. We've got a question from Senator Augustine.
Thank you. So thank you, Senator Brooks, for bringing this bill. It's my understanding, having done some research into this, that our current public institutions don't use legacy Is it true that they don't use legacy already?
Public current, there are some that do. I was reading, MICA, MICUA, that's the Maryland Independence College and Universities. There are a few institutions that
Okay,
are
I
members of
apologize.
them.
Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah.
Who I was referring to was USM, University System of Maryland, and our other St. Mary's, and Morgan State do not use legacy as far as
Right, no,
correct?
they do not. No,
Okay,
no.
and so my understanding is that those who do, that there are a very limited number, I think it's 2 or 3 members. Is it true that it's like 2 or 3 members of Maryland Independent College and University Association would be impacted by this piece of legislation?
There are very few, and what they're saying is that the ones that are in there that do it, the amount would probably be minuscule. So yes.
Quickly, and there's another part of this, though, Senator, that I'm wondering if you considered. So while I am understanding and wanting to have a level playing field, was there consideration for other lists that are utilized for admission, special lists, like a president's list, which I think still do exist? I mean, was there some conversation about that? Because that list is still going to end up with this, or was there consideration of things like specialty lists that are associated with the university that aren't necessarily legacy?
Right, yeah, there are other lists, yeah, but we were trying to seem like this would have the greater impact. So we're trying to start off with this one as first to make sure that you're not getting the preferential treatment just because of your, say, financial wherewithal.
Okay, so
Yeah.
one more follow-up to that. So did you, I understand this is very limited in scope, and I understand that. Senator, over the course of the last 50 years, there was affirmative action, right?
Right.
And through that process of affirmative action, there were a number of formerly disenfranchised groups, African Americans, Latinos, who were able to go to college. So who now have children who are who are legacies. Do you have any fear that this policy may in some ways prevent actually or may work negatively against another principle that we are very concerned about, which is like the wealth gap associated between African Americans and others, where it does take multiple generations in order to start to close things like the wealth gap? Did you ever consider that?
Of course, probably there would be some unintended consequences, but the idea here was treat them all good, treat them all bad, but treat them all the same. And then if you eliminate that legacy in one respect, you could probably gain in the other.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right.
Just, do we have is any other state, I mean, obviously the Supreme Court case is recent, so there's all kinds of, whether it's Senator Augustine's bill, responses in part to the Supreme Court. Does any other state have any a piece of legislation quite like this? I don't know the answer. I'm just.
I can circle back with you on that one,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any additional, okay, Senator Lewis Young?
Thank you. Thank you for this bill.
Sure.
Interesting concept.
Okay.
I wondered if you considered that legacy only be used if all other admission criteria is equal. So for example, you only have 500 spots in your class, but 1,000 applications. So legacy wouldn't be a differentiating factor, but if all other criteria such as academics and extracurricular activities and diversity are met, but you still have more applications than you have spots, then legacy could kick in in terms of priority, simply to maintain, a family tradition as opposed to giving an applicant an advantage.
Okay, does
I
that
hope
sound like an amendment?
I hope I
No,
articulated
yeah.
that correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, basically, I really agree with the principle. It
Right.
shouldn't be, and my aunt was an affirmative action officer at Harvard, and one of her biggest frustrations were wealthy families. Now, this is many, many years ago, but many wealthy families bought buildings and their kids came in and took the place of others. On the other hand, it could be the final deciding factor after all those other more legitimate criteria are met.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And I remember on Senator Augustine's bill where the schools were talking about the various things that they take into consideration before they make the final decision. So with this, like I said, this one is sort of narrowly scoped, and just wanted to make sure that major advantage wasn't being taken, being utilized, because you can truly screen out people who were probably just as deserving on the lower end of the economic scale, but just doesn't get the shot.
Yeah, we can talk offline.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
You're quite welcome.
Before we go to Vice Chair, I have been advised by council that actually Colorado did recently pass a bill similar to this. So there is at least one state that actually has attempted to do this.
Okay.
Vice Chair Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Brooks, this is fascinating to me because I think we all grow up so used to, grandpa did a thing. I mean, with all due respect, our former president, George W. Bush, I'm not sure his grades or SATs would have gotten him into his fancy Ivy League schools, but his name did and his legacy did. I have a question about the bill. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but on page 2, C number 2, I just wonder about whether that's a loophole and wondering about the timing of it. So it says you're not allowed to use legacy as a consideration as number 1. Number 2, and I'm going to read it for folks watching at home who don't have it in front of them. An institution of higher education may ask applicants to provide information about familiar relationship to alums of the institution for the purpose of collecting data. So these are applicants, these are not current students, these are not people who have been admitted and accepted, something like that. Doesn't that seem like it's a possibility of, okay, well, I'm not actually gonna consider that you're a legacy, but we're gonna gather the data and learn that you're a legacy that way. I just wonder, and I don't know whether our counsel, Stacey Goodman, knows whether Colorado's bill has that or what that is, but that just seems like drive a truck through it and a way to sort of use legacy anyway, after saying it can't be used.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the bill. You said on page 2?
Yes, sir.
Line item 2?
Nope, line item, nope, C2, lines 18 through 20.
Oh, well, let's see, 18 through 20. Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So C1 says you're not allowed to use it. And
Right.
C2 says, well, you can use it with people who are applying if you're using it to collect data. And that just seems awfully disingenuous to me. I just would wonder what your intent was or what your thinking is, or we can talk about it another time if you like.
Yes, that would be appreciated.
Okay, let's do that. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll go to Senator Carozza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the legislation. I just wanted to clarify, does the legislation apply to applications going forward, or is it going back to question applications and acceptances in the past?
This would be applications going forward.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any additional questions for Senator Brooks? Okay, seeing none, that concludes bill hearing. Senate Bill 543. We're going to go next to Senator Gallion, Senate Bill 737, piece of legislation from the Harford County Senators. And Senator, come up there. We do have one virtual witness from Hartford Community College, Teresa Felder. Do we have her in the queue? Okay. So why don't you lead off and then we'll go to the virtual witness and then we'll take questions. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and fellow committee members. For the record, Senator Jason Gallion representing District 35 and here on behalf of the Hartford County Senate delegation to introduce this local Hartford County bill, Senate Bill 737, Higher Education Hartford Community College Board of Trustees alterations. Late this past year, the college leadership reached out to the Hartford County legislators about changing the appointment requirements to allow for greater flexibility in their appointment process. As the current law designates, 2/3 or 6 members of the board are made by councilmanic districts, and 1/3 of the board or 3 members are at large. The current language in the bill made changes to feature a grouping of council districts. However, as a Senate delegation, we looked at what other community college board of trustees do across the state, and the other community colleges that use, and the only other community college that uses councilmanic districts is Baltimore County. The rest either use a residency requirement or have all the members appointed at large. In consultation with the college, we chose to restructure the appointment process to have all 9 members appointed at large by the governor to be consistent with a vast majority of boards across the state. To ensure geographic and ethnic diversity on the board, we also added language which reads as follows. Quote, to the extent practicable, when appointing members to the board, the governor shall take into consideration the geographic and ethnic representation of Hartford County so that all segments of the population of the county are represented on the board, end quote. We feel this final product fulfills the college's request for more flexibility while also maintaining ethnic and geographic diversity. I also want to mention that the Hartford House delegation voted last week to support this with the amendment I described. So I respectfully ask the committee for a favorable vote with the proposed amendment on this local Hartford County bill.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Why don't we go to our virtual witness, Ms. Felder, Teresa Felder, and you've got 2 minutes and then we'll open up questions.
Thank you. And good afternoon, Chair Feldman and Vice Chair Kagan and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I am Dr. Teresa Felder, President of Hartford Community College. I would like to first thank Senator Gallion for introducing this bill and the entire Hartford County delegation for their support of this legislation. Also, please note that our Board of Trustees Chair, Dr. Richard Street III, also submitted written testimony in support of Senate Bill 737. His testimony represents the will of the entire Board of Trustees. As noted by Senator Gallion, this bill is a collaborative effort between the college's Board of Trustees, the college administration, and the Hartford County delegation. The bill's primary objective is to maximize the effectiveness of the board appointment process. Currently, the existing legislation is unnecessarily restrictive. While it guarantees representation of geographic areas within Hartford County, it can limit appointing trustees who possess subject matter expertise that may benefit the college, our students, and the county. Our trustees work together as a board to advance the work and mission of the college. My expectation is that each trustee will represent and advocate for all Hartford County residents and students from all districts. The updated appointment language allows for more flexibility with appointments and aligns Hartford Community College's practice for appointing new trustees with most other Maryland community colleges. Lastly, I would like to affirm the commitment of the board and the administration to ensure that the composition of our board reflects the geographic and ethnic diversity of Hartford County, as well as the college's students and employees. On behalf of all members of Hartford Community College and our Board of Trustees, thank you for your favorable consideration of Senate Bill 737.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Senator Gallion or virtual witness, Ms. Felder? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 737. Next up, we're going to go to Senator Watson, Senate Bill 566. And Senator Watson, looks like Senator Rosapep has signed in to be a witness. I don't know if that's correct, but we do have Louis Campion. Mr. Campion, why don't you come up here and As for Senator Rosapep, he is signed up, but I'll defer to you as to whether.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
here.
Yes, this is a bill that came before the committee last year. And so I'm working with Senator Rosapep on this bill. Real simply, let me get my notes. This bill recognizes that when you talk about CTE and talk about the success of our students, you know, being able to get to work is a very important requirement. Still, I know in Prince George's County, 70% of our residents still travel outside of the county, you know, to get to work. And in my district in particular, we are very, very limited on subway stops and transportations. What this bill seeks to do is to reduce the minimum age for being a school bus driver to 19 and a half so that we can get more folks trained early and out there in the workforce as soon as they are ready. And recognize that not just bus drivers, but also CDL and regular driver's licenses. These are all important. And we're trying to make it part of a comprehensive CTE program. I am going to pass the torch to Senator Rosapep, who has graced us with his presence, to give us some additional information. Senator Rosapep.
Okay, Senator, we feel graced with your presence, and therefore take the time you want to weigh in on this piece of legislation.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. And I appreciate Senator Watson's sponsorship of this legislation. I sponsored legislation like this about 2 years ago and it went nowhere. So I figured it was a sponsor problem. And so I have a sponsor solution. And so I appreciate Senator Watson taking up the charge here, but I'm very strongly supportive of it. And if you decide to pass it, I want it to be added to the co-sponsor. So why do I care about this so much? I care about it because of all the work that you know that I do around workforce issues and apprenticeships. And there are two pieces to this. One is, one of the reasons a lot of our kids don't have jobs is because they don't know how to drive. I hear this from employers and from unions all the time. And about 30 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, driver's ed was taught in the schools, as some people may remember. And the decision was made to take it out of the schools and privatize it. That works great for upper middle class families. Terrific. Family pays for the kid to learn to drive. The kid learns to drive, drives to the beach, drives to the mountains, drives to the date. That's great. But not for working class kids, not for low income kids. The result is the rate at which kids have driver's license, high school students have driver's license, has gone dramatically down over recent years. That's really bad for economic opportunity. But parallel to that, the demand for driving jobs, truck driving, school bus driving, public bus driving, DoorDash, heavy equipment in the Port of Baltimore, you get down the list. There are workforce shortages in all those areas. Now, many of those, such as interstate truck driving and heavy equipment driving in the Port of Baltimore and public bus driving, require commercial driver's licenses. But DoorDash doesn't require a commercial driver's license. Van driving doesn't require a commercial driver's license. The challenge here is to get the skills of driving to kids, at least to start with, who want to work in driving occupations. People say, well, who would want to be a driver? Everybody wants to be, a nuclear physicist. Well, actually, that's not true. Great to be a nuclear physicist. The average income of truck drivers in Maryland is $68,000 a year. It is not a bad job. And it's not a bad job for people who like a particular lifestyle. So some people like being Smokey the Bandit. They want to drive cross country and see the open road. Other people like being school bus drivers, where you have a very fixed schedule, morning, afternoon, not working weekends, not working in the summer. You have other people who want what, and there's a partisan reference here, but I'm going to make it anyway, as our president, Joe Biden, would say, a good union job. That's what you have at Metro. That's what you have at MTA. You have good union jobs that have health insurance and pensions. Somebody likes that kind of stability. They want to make a career at that. In all those areas, we have shortages. The drivers are getting older, people are retiring. And then you have this whole new business of Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and all those things, where people can make good money. It doesn't have to be their whole job. Maybe they decide to do that and they want to go to college. God bless them. But they can't do it if they don't know how to drive. So what this bill says, I'm making the argument for it. The mechanics of this is simply, we need a career and technical education program in our high schools around driving. Starting off with getting kids at 16 and 17 to learn how to drive, to get the regular driver's license. And then building in, for those who want to pursue jobs that require a commercial driver's license, the classroom instruction while in high school. You can't get a commercial driver's license until you're 18 years old, but you can study for it before you're 18 years old. So you can take the classes while you're in high school. You turn 18, you then can do the open road driving that you need like 6-8 weeks for to qualify for your CDL. So this is a bigger deal than it appears, and I appreciate the committee's indulgence. Happy to answer questions.
Okay, Senator Augustine.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you.
I support this, but I just have to ask,
Please.
Why this and why not plumbing?
Because we have CT programs in plumbing. We don't have them in driving.
We have it's been established by the committee, and this is the only one that they don't have. Is this? I'm just asking.
That's it. No, it's a perfect question. No, I wanted the question myself. No, here's the nuance on this. So we have a whole variety of CT programs in skilled trades and in healthcare. We have a whole bunch of good CT programs. Driving historically has not been a CT program because policy-wise, and that's why I think it's an issue for us as well as for MSD and the CT committee. Driving has been seen as not a high-skill occupation. That's when I've talked with people in MSD about it. It's not seen. They know it's an in-demand occupation, but it's not seen as a high-skill occupation. The fact of the matter is, bad truck drivers are really dangerous. Bad heavy machinery drivers are really dangerous. Bad bus drivers are really dangerous. Driving is a skill. Some people are good at it, some people aren't. And so I think it has been sort of a legacy of over, like say 15, 20 years. A lot of CT programs have morphed into more academic things. And that's been one of our problems. They haven't been focused as closely on where the good jobs really are and where the demand is. Now, there's one example in Washington County has a pilot in this that MSD allowed them to do. I've talked with the folks at MSD about it, and they're interested in this. The new CT director is interested in it. The reason I'm so supportive of Senator Watson's bill is we've been talking about this for a couple of years, and in order to break through in some of these areas, we got to get a little push.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator Carozza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the Senate sponsor, and I also want to thank your leadership, Senator Roosevelt. And I guess, first of all, it looks to me like there's two tracks, because I'm looking at my 3 counties, and you're absolutely right. Number one, you don't even have students that are going after their licenses. I'm amazed when I talking to 19 and 20 and 21-year-olds, and they don't have their license. We got it as soon as we could. So you have 2 tracks. You've got the track, I think, of how do you just put the students on a pathway of just getting their license, whether they go into driving positions or trucking positions, but they need that anyway for other jobs. And then you have the whole, you're right, the career pathway on that. And to me, I saw that it was interesting to me that you had, I think though, my question is,
sure,
in order for this to work, I believe that we will have to give maximum flexibility to the local school districts to make this work in the individual counties.
I agree.
Okay, and I don't know what that looks like, but I was glad to see. But do you see that some differences, like, you'll have some more urban areas that may have one approach and some rural counties that have other approaches?
Absolutely. I think, but one specific example is school systems might decide to create their own staff of drivers, trainers, or they might decide to contract it out. I mean, it could go different ways. So I think flexibility is definitely important. But on your other point, which is getting a regular driver's license and not pursue a CDL and not pursue a driving career, I'm for that because that's important for kids to get to the plumbing jobs, actually.
Right, exactly.
But when I drafted this, and Senator Watson took what I had proposed before. I was trying not to solve all problems at once.
Okay.
So I focused this problem on folks who want driving careers, but that is a problem as well. And I would welcome an amendment to the bill. I'd welcome another bill because that is a strategic issue in terms of our workforce needs.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, additional questions for Senator Rosa Pep. Okay, we'll send you back to the Budget and Tax
Thank
Committee if
you.
you'd like. Okay, Mr. Campion, you want to weigh in here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just briefly for the record, Lewis Campion with Maryland Motor Truck Association. I'm just going to supplement a little bit of what Senator Rosepep did such an amazing job on this bill that might help understand the background. So every state in the country allows you to get a CDL at age 18, but you cannot haul interstate freight or cross state lines in any capacity until you are 21. Under the, that's obviously a problem in a smaller state like Maryland. But with the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that passed a couple of years ago, it actually had a pilot program where 3,000 younger adult drivers between 18 and 21 now are eligible to start hauling interstate shipments with added safety technologies on their vehicles and additional training that must be provided. So with that, we worked very closely with Senator Rosepep on the launching of the program at Williamsport High School, where in year one, they had 5 students go through their program. This is year 2. They have 12 students enrolled this year, and it feeds into the program that Hagerstown Community College offers through their CDL program. Almost every one of your community colleges actually are members of our associations and have CDL training programs that we work closely with. So right now we're talking to Warwick about a program there. We're talking to CCBC about a program there. There are great opportunities to have a good paying job without a college degree. We're one of those clearly. And just one other comment relative to Senator Augustine's question about plumbing and the clusters. So the clusters in the CTE program, there is a transportation technology cluster. It doesn't involve driving whatsoever. It's a mechanic cluster for automotive and diesel mechanics, which are really important to us too, because we got to keep our trucks on the road. But now building a cluster around driving opportunities is meaningful for school buses, for motor coaches, for transit, and certainly for trucking. Thank you.
Okay, Senator Carosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony. I was glad to hear that you shared about the community colleges. At Warwick Community College, which you just noted, they just built a new technology center, and I don't know if you've seen their.
I have seen it. It's spectacular.
And I've actually demonstrated the CDL driving the truck in the
simulator.
So haven't been out there yet on my own, but did receive an 80%. But what I wanted to point out is now we have this, this facility that we've made this major investment, this technology center. But I think what has to happen, I think what Senator Watson's bill does, but maybe you can expand on it because I want to make sure it does this. Could it almost be with kind of a feeder into that program? Because I'm not sure right now that those students, really know that this is this is a lucrative career and what the pathway may look like.
That's a great question, Senator. So you're absolutely right. The high school concept for CTE really has to feed you into what's called a qualified training program that the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration at USDOT recognizes as meeting certain standards. So that's how the high school program at Williamsport is designed. I think what the inclusion of the CTE program now will help raise awareness about these opportunities in the high schools. It would, essentially develop a path for those partnerships to occur with your CDL programs at your community college as well. So it's a 2-part ultimate process to get to the CDL that really won't occur just through a high school. That will need to be done in conjunction with a qualified training program, which all of your colleges that have CDL programs are considered those. Absolutely.
Okay, any additional questions for the witness? Okay, seeing none, that
Thank you.
concludes the bill hearing. on Senate Bill 566. Next, go to Senator Augustine on Senate Bill 395. Senator, we've sort of designated two separate sponsor panels. I don't know, by design, I mean, you could, if you, and we have some virtual witnesses signed up as well. So, why don't you just specifically?
One of my main witnesses was here all day and it seems to have
Uh-oh,
stepped
okay.
away.
Well, I've got, again, sort of two separate groups.
We're good.
Why don't you bring up whoever you think you
come on
fits, and then we'll
Right here.
figure it out.
Yep.
Okay, why don't,
fantastic.
yeah, and we've got, I think, some virtual witnesses also in the queue, or not? Okay, not yet. Okay, well, Sarah Augustine, why don't you lead off Senate Bill 395? We'll go through the witness, see where we stand, and then we'll.
Thank you, Chair Feldman, Vice Chair Kagan, and members of the committee. Senator Malcolm Augustine here on behalf of Senate Bill 395, Higher Education, Credit Eligibility and Transfer of Credits, English as Second Language Courses. Colleagues, this bill mandates requirements focusing on English as a second language or English language learner courses taken at public community colleges. It stipulates that if these courses are not designated as remedial by the community college, they must be transferable to any institution of higher education within the state. Furthermore, the bill asserts that an institution of higher education in the state is prohibited from refusing the transfer of such credits for any reason. The bill directs public community colleges to deem ESL or English language learner courses as eligible for either world language or humanities electives, credits or both, towards a student's associate's degree, provided that the course is not categorized as a remedial course. Its comprehensive approach ensures the seamless transferability and appropriate academic credit recognition for ESL learner courses across institutions. Now, colleagues, the area that I represent in Prince George's County, we have a very large population of folks for which English is not the first language that is spoken in the home. And one of the things that what we find is that particularly when I go to my high school graduations and stuff like that, you know, talking to a lot of the youngsters, oftentimes they, you know, you got some of your most talented kids and they are not necessarily so sure that that college is right for them. But one of the options that is available often is community college. And so quite a few of them take advantage of going to community college. But one of the things that's always there, they're always worried about, and there's always this barrier, particularly for these English, these folks who English as a second language is, there's a tremendous amount of pressure for them to go to work. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of pressure for them to do anything but go to school. And I think that's wrong. I mean, these are talented people who are really, could make certain contributions, particularly in this place. And so what this bill does is it says that, you know, this is one barrier that happens for these youngsters in that they are fully able, academically, they're able to go to the school, but English is not their first language. And so they have a certain requirement that they have to take this class. And this class is not a remedial class. This is a class that would otherwise be given credit for a youngster who is an English speaker, like they're taking Spanish or something like that. They would get credit for that. But because they are English language learners, they are not automatically given credit towards that graduation. Now, you might ask, well, can't the community colleges do this? Yeah, they could. They could do it. But what's occurred is that this is one of those situations why we need legislation, because they wanted to be able to say, and they're supportive of it, like we all need to kind of do it at the same time. We can't, like one just going to do it and not necessarily the other will do it. It needs to be unified because, as you all know, particularly with our 2-and-2 program, that's a unified program where folks go from the community college and then they're able to go on to our 4-year schools. So that's where that is a very important, that this is this unified front that gives this credit. You will find in the testimony that there is testimony from the University System of Maryland that does ask some questions about whether the humanities credit and that there are certain instances where it might make sense to provide a certain amount of flexibility for these classes that may not fit with a particular very sort of specific, like nursing, let's say, for example. So we're working on an amendment to address that says that basically the opt-in is that it applies, like that you get the credit, but that there is a pathway for these schools to say, hey, listen, in this very narrow circumstance, this should not apply, but that the default is that it will apply and that it will remove this barrier that right now exists for some of our folks from going on and completing it because they say, oh my gosh, I got to pay for this. I'm not getting credit for it. And we have these issues. You heard it in earlier bills where people are falling off. They're not actually completed. They have every intention of doing it, but they see that first bill and they're like, I'm not going to get credit for that. And they fall off. That's what this bill seeks to mitigate. And I'm going to ask for a favorable report as amended and turn it over to my panel.
Okay, sir, tell us who you are. And again, we're getting a little late. Everybody's gonna be on that same clock from earlier in the day. Okay, tell us who you are.
Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair. I'm Owen Silverman Andrews. I work at the community college about 5 miles up the road, but I've worked at community colleges across the state since 2013. The CALL Act originated from the most directly affected and marginalized people in the context it pertains to. It is the result of a grassroots consensus-based decision-making process that involves some key actors in all relevant sectors. It is clear, concise, and well-bounded, as well as precise. It costs the state nothing, but would mean so very much to the students within its scope. Next week, the world will celebrate International Mother Language Day, a UNESCO-designated date recognizing people's right to their own language. Indeed, language justice and multilingualism are policy arenas in which Maryland can and must advance. On February 21st, we will be reminded whether you speak with an accent, and we all have one, are a person who stutters, are deaf, or speak one or more languages other than or including English at home and in your community, your voice matters. By passing the CALL Act, the General Assembly sends a clear message that college and the high-paying, tax revenue-generating jobs and innovations college leads to are for our immigrant multilingual English learners too. By passing the CALL Act, the GA sends a message. We hear you, we see you, we value you, and we will do all in our power so you can be successful here. But most of all, the Credit for All Language Learning Act is about equal credit for equal work. It is a promise to students that the value of your hard work learning a new language is to your credit and will be credited to you. Multilingual people are valuable to Maryland schools, community colleges, and universities. The strength of their multilingualism is apparent to all who know them. By passing the CALL Act, the General Assembly ensures that accrued value will transfer with them as they advance from dual enrolled high school students, central to the success of the blueprint, to our community colleges, central to the upskilling of labor our state's economy so dearly needs, to our private and public universities, Maryland's engines of research and pathways to the professional class. The CALL Act respects institutional autonomy and subject matter expertise. It opens pathways to all higher education institutions, public and private. The CALL Act sets right a longstanding wrong. It won't cost a dime and will likely save taxpayers and federal and state college aid while accelerating multilingual students into the workforce. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Why don't you pass the mic down?
This one.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Honorable Chair Feldman, Honorable Vice Chair Kagan, and Honorable Senators, greetings. I'm Dr. Karen Woodson, member of the Community Work Group on English Language Learners. I'm here today to testify in full support of the Credit for All Languages Learning Act. Take a moment, if you will, to reflect on your high school experiences studying a foreign language. Many of you most likely studied Spanish, French, Italian, German, or languages that do not use the Roman alphabet, such as Chinese, Japanese, or Arabic. When you were studying your chosen language in high school, you most likely remember studying various topics like greetings and introductions, family, school, hobbies, foods, holidays, customs, and even some poetry, stories, or popular songs in your chosen language. You most likely recall with trepidation the study of grammar and vocabulary as well in that target language. You graduated from high school and your foreign language credits were accepted in college as they should be. Now, reflect on the following question. Could you have used your foreign language to learn math, science, social studies, or other subjects in that language? I know most of you would respond with a resounding no way. I also know that most of you graduated high school being able to speak your chosen foreign language with limited fluency or perhaps no fluency at all. Let us now consider students who are learning English as a new language. Unlike us, they have to learn, unlike the topics I mentioned earlier, they also have to learn and use English in all of the subject areas that they're studying. When comparing the levels of language mastery between those of us who studied a foreign language with those who have studied English as a new language, it is very easy to see that the student who studies English as a new language has a far greater command of English than any of us who studied a foreign language. The fact of the matter is, English is a world language, just like Spanish, French, and Italian, yet it's treated as less than. We have an opportunity here to correct this inequity. In addition to that, we know that when it's treated as less than, there's a group of students studying English as a new language, they're being left behind, which is contrary to the governor's vision of leaving no one behind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Why don't we just go down to the end of the table? Okay. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Maricruz Abarca for the records, and thank you all for being here today. And so today I'm here to testify and give you my personal testimony of my experience. So in 2013, my family and I, we moved to the state, and we came from New Jersey. So I was really amazed by the promise that this state was, offering to my family. However, I soon realized that unlocking the full spectrum of opportunities require mastering my language, English. So in 2016, while I was facing and challenging those linguistics barriers, I decided to retake my educational life. So while juggling the the responsibilities of, now being a single mother of 3, my son was 10, my twins were 2. However, so I cannot honestly tell you in words all the challenge I face learning English as a second language. So while I do it, I decided that education was the key. So I was trying to get my associate degree. However, I realized that whatever I learned on YouTube and any other platform was not going to give me the opportunity to learn more. So I went to school. I went to CCBC to get my English classes. However, those 18 credits did not count towards my degree. That was money I paid out of my pocket, money I knew I was not going to use for my children. So during those moments, of course, I went through many difficult times. And I do appreciate the fact that you are giving my language the really opportunity to be part of the accreditable subjects. However, I do feel that it's the time to give the English, the native speaker language of this country, the opportunity to be important as it is my language. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize. I didn't catch your name at the front end.
Maricruz Abarca.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Lauren Lamb. I'm a former ESOL teacher, and I'm here on behalf of the Maryland State Education Association, which represents 75,000 educators across the state. In K-12, multilingual learners are the fastest growing student population in the state. When students graduate and go to community college, they might continue to take ESOL courses or other English language learning courses. These are challenging, wide-ranging courses that cover things like writing academic essays, reading literature and poetry, and going far beyond vocabulary and grammar. Students in ESOL courses are honing one of the most in-demand skill sets in our state's workforce right now, multilingualism, but are not receiving the same credit that their peers would receive for taking a world language course or an intercultural communication course. This is a plain inequity and should be remedied in this body. I would urge you to issue a favorable report. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open some questions and we'll pick up. We do have a virtual witness or two, part of the sponsor panel, but we'll go with Vice Chair Kagan and then Senator Gallion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And of course, I have too many windows open and I have dental care still up. Senator, I do have a question for you. I'm going to go from memory since I don't have it up right now. The community college cannot refuse to accept so I love the concept of the bill, and like you, Senator Augustine, my district is hugely linguistically diverse, which I'm really proud of. Gaithersburg and Rockville are two nationally ranked cities for their linguistic diversity. So there was in there the language that said that the community colleges may not reject the credits, the transfer credits, for any reason whatsoever. And so I'm just looking for the basic question. This should be obvious, but I got an F in the course. I never showed up for the course. I didn't do the homework. I showed absolutely no proficiency in learning, this language that is new to me. For any reason seems really broad, and I didn't hear any of you all speak to it. And again, if I'm being imprecise because I have the wrong.
No, I'm not.
An institution of higher education in the state may not deny the transfer of credits in accordance with subparagraph 1 of this paragraph for any reason. And that is on page 2, lines 19 through 21.
Okay, so that is referring to a course that's already been passed that would then be a credit that you would get a credit for. So you can't get a credit for that which you have not passed, in other words. So that's the step from the 2-year to the 4-year, for example, and making sure that they too will accept it. And thus far, Madam Vice Chair, the only pushback that we've received about that, and we're willing to address it, is to just be a little bit more precise if they're in a specialty or something like that, which I tried to say in my. But this is for courses that have been successfully completed and making sure that these courses that have been successfully completed are transferable.
I took the class, I succeeded, now I want to transfer, and they can't say no.
That's correct. And thus far, they have said that's okay, except we want to make sure we get this narrow sort of opportunity to opt out of that if it's just completely is not related when it comes to certain humanities. So, and so that we are going to fix that. Yep.
Okay, Senator Gallion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator, for bringing this bill. Just looking at it, this just looks like a common sense bill to me. The community colleges support it. There's really no fiscal note issues. So I guess to turn this into a question, has this issue ever been brought up in previous sessions? This is the first I've ever actually heard from memory that this brought up. Is this
Senator, not for me. So obviously we're talking to folks about this in the fall. They brought it up. They said, hey, this is a problem. And we thought this was just like you said, a common sense solution. The thought process was like folks wanted to do it, but they needed that push that would allow for everybody to kind of do it at the same time, which is the reason for the need for a legislation.
Okay, any additional questions for Senator Augustine or any of the panelists? Okay, seeing none. Let's pick up Christine Mallinson. She's patiently been on the virtual queue here, so signed up favorable and is actually part of your designated panel. So Ms. Mallinson, you can hear me. You're going to be on the 2-minute clock, but you are signed up straight favorable. Okay, why don't you proceed?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Christine Mallinson. I'm a professor of language literacy and culture at UMBC. I'm an expert in educational linguistics and hold the distinction of being a fellow of the Linguistic Society of America. I'm also the granddaughter of immigrants to this country and a resident of Baltimore City now for almost 20 years. I'm providing testimony today as an individual, but my views are directly informed by my professional expertise and experience. And I want to voice my enthusiastic support of the CALL Act as an important step towards linguistic equity and inclusion. Students who have learned English as their second or additional language bring an expanded set of linguistic skills and cultural competencies to their classes, workplaces, and communities. As our prior panelists have noted, these are skills and competencies in intercultural communication, and they're precisely what we expect students whose home language is English to develop when they take world language courses or participate in exchange programs such as study abroad. This is also exactly the reason why English language learning courses should be included and counted as humanities courses. All language learning consists of the study of language, literature, identity, history, culture, society, and humanity. In my expert opinion, therefore, there's no defensible reason why English language learning courses, which take place in our local cultural context, would be excluded from being awarded humanities credit. Doing so will recognize these students' expanded linguistic and cultural skill sets as being just as worthy, valuable, and integral to their academic and social development as students whose home language is English and who are acquiring another language. It would also facilitate their progress toward obtaining their degrees, rather than disproportionately and unnecessarily slowing them down, costing additional time, effort, and money. In order to be inclusive and equitable in Maryland and to help all our students leverage the benefits of higher education, we must follow the lead of other states and ensure that we value and recognize the strengths and assets that our culturally and linguistically diverse students bring to our institutions of higher education and to the state of Maryland. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Mallinson before we move to the second virtual witness? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Frank Patinella, again, signed up straight favorable, and you are one of the designated witnesses by Senator Augustine. So why don't you proceed? 2 minutes, okay?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick here. My name is Frank Patinella. I'm a senior education advocate for the ACLU of Maryland and the Son of Immigrants. We support Senate Bill 395 because it would give English learners in community college what they rightfully deserve for taking an English language course. And that's credit. At its core, this bill is about equity and removing a barrier in our system that unfairly puts English learners at a disadvantage. Most of our advocacy regarding English learners has been focused on K through 12 education. And thanks to all of you, we have the blueprint for Maryland's future. In that law, the Maryland State Department of Education was charged with facilitating the Blueprint Work Group on English language learners. The work group was charged with studying all aspects of our education system as it relates to English learners and develop comprehensive recommendations to improve their outcomes. After 2 years, MSTE released its report, and there are many excellent recommendations to act upon. And one thing that stands out in the report is the need to confront the English learner deficit mindset in the state and instead adopt an asset-based approach. For example, one to highlight, instead of using the term English learners, use multilingual or emerging bilingual. Within these terms is acknowledgement that English learners come with assets and values, and should not be defined by their lack of proficiency in the English language. We can use this framing to confront our deficit-based mindset more broadly and look closely at all of our systems that affect the lives of our immigrant brothers and sisters. Before us here today, we have a great opportunity to do that with Senate Bill 395. We urge a favorable report on this bill, and let's give credit where credit is due. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Patinella? Okay, seeing none. We have two final additional witnesses. Is Susanna Barrios here?
Her brother's in the ER, so she couldn't make it.
Okay, then our final witness, Matt Power, I see in the back, is signed up favorable with amendments from the Maryland Independent College and University Association. Mr. Power, again, you'll be the final witness on this piece of legislation. And why don't you have a seat and talk about what amendments you're proposing to this bill.
Thank you so much, Chair Feldman, members of the committee. I'm Matt Power, President of the Maryland Independent College and University Association. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today to talk about Senate Bill 395. MICU appreciates the spirit and good intentions of this bill and its supporters, but our members do have some practical concerns about its implementation in the independent sector of higher education. As a collective, our schools work diligently to attract transfer students, and our retention and completion rates for those students are higher than any other segment of higher education in Maryland. At the same time, some of our institutions are concerned about the precedent that legislation forcing the acceptance of transfer credits might create for other well-intentioned initiatives in the future. More immediately, however, we have some institutions that don't feel they could implement the bill as drafted. I'll highlight one example and refer you to our testimony for others. St. John's College, a stone's throw away from this building, is known for both its unique pedagogy and its curriculum. Students at St. John's College study the great books. All the students take the same interdisciplinary curriculum over 4 years and small cohort-based discussion classes. As a result, St. John's College doesn't take any transfer credits from any institution. You could have a year of credits from Harvard, but if you want a degree from St. John's College, you need to start as a freshman with no credits. This is only one example, but it highlights why we have an independent sector of higher education in Maryland, because some of our curriculum require a higher level of independence. We would ask the committee's consideration to either make this an optional requirement for the independent colleges or create an exemption for them. And I will note that the sponsors, we already have a meeting set up on Tuesday to discuss possible amendments, and certainly some of the opt-in and opt-out provisions that you were discussing with USM would certainly be something we'd look forward to discussing with you. With that, I'll end my testimony and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Okay, speaking of the sponsor, Senator Augustine.
Chair, so yeah, how many is it? Like your testimony says that St. John's doesn't, and then Capital Technology doesn't, or is that the ones who just don't want people to transfer into them, which I find really astounding?
I think St. John's is even a little different than all probably. Capital Technology has some particular programs, and then some of our other institutions, like similar to what you're discussing with USM, have particular programs of study where it would make more or less sense.
Okay. So obviously we're open. We're going to talk these things through.
Great, appreciate it.
But yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your graciousness.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay, any additional questions for Mr. Power? Okay, seeing none, that concludes bill hearing on Senate Bill 395. We'll next move to Senate Bill 500. Vice Chair will start it off, and I will be back in a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next bill, as the chair says, Senate Bill 500, Senator Mary Washington. With her, joining her on the panel, if you'd like to come forward, Shayna Cook, Charo Torres, Ruth Carolina, nope, not Charo yet, sorry. Shayna Cook, Ruth Carolina Reyes, Dawn Hendricks, Christina Pooch, and Christina Lopez. You all may come forward.
And then I have two virtual members of my panel, Dr. Dawn Hendricks and Caroline Reyes.
I have already said
I'm
Dawn's
sorry.
name, and I said Ruth Carolina Reyes. So,
Okay,
so they will
that-
be, yep, we will go to our virtual witnesses afterwards. We'll start with those who are here.
Great.
So Senator Washington, you may begin your testimony. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. For the record, Senator Mary Washington asking the committee for your favorable report on Senate Bill 500 Child Care Career Professional Development Fund. Good afternoon. This is an existing fund. And it's revising the requirements to provide more equitable opportunities in the childcare profession. The Child and Career Development Fund is a tuition assistance program for childcare providers. Is to help them to obtain the college education at participating colleges and universities in Maryland. The funding is available for childcare providers to earn a college degree in early childhood education, childhood development, elementary education, and special education. You all are aware, or this committee is very aware, that in the course of revising many of our, or wanting to raise the standards, or really focusing on early childhood education, that we increase requirements for those currently working in that sector for us. And so we want to make sure that as a state, we are also supporting the ability of our current childcare providers to get the certifications that they are required. So the bill revises the program actually to prioritize those people who don't currently have any college credits. And we want, again, we want the people that are providing the services and recognizing that all funds have a limit. We want to prioritize those people that don't have any credits. We also want to prioritize those who've been accepted already to college, and that a college that offers both native language and bilingual course credit. So as you heard in the last panel, and as you all know, the increasing need for individuals who can speak more than one language, speak more than English language is really very important. So again, we want to be able to take it into consideration when allocating the funds. Limited funds at the moment. We can always increase the funds, but there are limited funds taken into these two priorities. Again, people who've not been able to yet fund any of their college education, and those who are looking to support the multilingual aspect of our program. The bill also, however, is adding an additional accountability components. One, if the award recipient does not meet the program's obligations, they must repay the funds. Again, the funds go back into this, they don't go to the general fund, they go back into this fund to be used by others. And you should know that the repayment requirement can be waived. So if someone truly is in a difficult situation and they're not able to pay, illness, disability, or something that prevents them, they'll be offered a payment program or a repayment program, or it will be waived. These changes that we are proposing only affect new applicants. Additionally, the bill is also increasing the service time from 10 hours to 20 hours per week. You'll hear some concerns about how low the requirement is. You will also note that it does remain part-time. So it is not requiring any kind of full-time commitment to fulfill the obligation, but we do believe strongly that we need to increase that commitment. This is a program that works. We've been doing it since 2008, but we can make it better. And we can make it better by making these adjustments. So I have with me, as the chair has said, Chris, the executive director of the Maryland State Child Care Association. I have an assistant superintendent for the Division of Early Childhood at MSDE. I have the director of the Maryland Childhood Leadership Program and president of the Maryland Association for Education of Young People. And virtually, we have the departmental chair all the way from Oregon. I guess it's just after lunchtime there, at the Early Childhood Education, Criminal Justice, and Human Services at a community college. And then also we have Ms. Reyes. She's actually an owner and director of a childcare provider here in Maryland, in Laurel. So Chair, Mr. Chair, I'd like to begin with the executive director of the State Childhood, and then you all go after that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much to our champion for childcare, Senator Washington, the Education, Energy, and Environment Committee, esteemed Chair and Vice Chair, for your leadership. I'm Christina Push, the Executive Director of the Maryland State Child Care Association and Co-Chair of the Office of Child Care Advisory Council. Senate Bill 500 is an important piece of legislation that speaks to equity, supports actionable steps to address the critical workforce shortages plaguing child care programs, assists in building a qualified workforce, and even better is done without a fiscal note. Maryland has amazing state-sponsored quality initiatives, programs, and opportunities that many states do not. The opportunity to attend college for free through the Child Care Career Professional Development Fund is such a program that many states envy. The name CCC PDF tells you that this is a child care initiative requiring specific child care eligibility requirements and funding through the Office of Child Care at MSDE. The program lacks the equitable repayment of service hours based on the significant investment and the goal to build a qualified child care early childhood workforce. The service hours post completion of a degree must be increased to 20 hours per week at a minimum because the 10 hours per week currently required does not help the child care program struggling with a qualified workforce shortages that negatively impact their parents and children. Many CCC PDF graduates work 10 hours part-time and before and after school childcare settings to meet service requirements while working full-time at a public school or a related job where the compensation is greater. Childcare is already competing with public schools for the workforce due to the implementation of Pillar 1. We must also compete with the CCC PDF teachers that should be prioritized for service to the childcare workforce with meaningful hours. The graduates should work in childcare where they will positively impact children and support the economy, as childcare is an important economic and equity imperative. My co-panelists will reflect on the second part of the bill, which focuses on equity, expanding native language opportunities for our diverse immigrant teachers, and supporting first-time students entering institutions of higher ed. MSCCA enthusiastically ask for a favorable report. Thank you.
You just broke land speed records with that rating, but you got it under the time here. Next witness, your choice.
Shana. Thank you to the Education, Energy, and Environment Committee for the privilege of joining you today to testify on behalf of the Maryland State Department of Education to show support for Senate Bill 500, House Bill 600. I am Dr. Shana Cook, the Assistant State Superintendent for the Division of Early Childhood. In the wake of the enduring challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the childcare workforce has been grappling with formidable obstacles marked by high turnover and persistent struggles with employee retention within the early care and education sector. In response to this pressing issue, MSD is steadfast in its commitment to fostering robust and innovative measures aimed at bolstering recruitment and retention in childcare programs. Our goal is not only to enhance existing initiatives, but also to lay the foundation for a resilient and empowered workforce. A crucial element of this initiative involves increasing the service commitment for the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund, elevating it from the current minimum of 10 hours per week to the proposed 20 hours per week. This extended commitment will fortify our ongoing efforts and provide comprehensive support for the workforce. Furthermore, the proposed legislation puts forth a visionary change by authorizing the Child Care Career and Professional Development Fund to accept applicants from accredited colleges or universities offering coursework in early childhood education or related fields in native languages other than English or in bilingual formats. This groundbreaking modification levels the playing field, granting students the same starting advantage as their English-speaking counterparts. This inclusivity is anticipated to not only increase the number of program completions, but also expedite the process of obtaining associate, bachelor's, or master's degrees. CCC PDF recipients will also benefit from a supportive learning environment surrounded by peers facing similar challenges, fostering a robust network of shared supports to face the barriers of completion together. In conclusion, Senate Bill 500, House Bill 600 is an essential roadmap towards a stronger, more inclusive, and resilient early care and education workforce. MSDE supports this transformative legislation that paves the way for a brighter future for our children, families, and dedicated professionals who shape their early years and grades. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership. Why don't you finish this off and then we'll go to our virtual witnesses.
Okay. Good afternoon,
Yeah, if you can
honorable
pull
members.
the mic all the way over to you.
All the way.
Yeah, pull the microphone thing.
Got it.
Stand. There you go. Okay.
Okay,
thank
is
you.
that better? Good afternoon, honorable members of the Senate. Thank you so much, Senator Washington, for your leadership on this bill, and thank you all for the work that you do for the education sector. My name is Christina Lopez. I am the director and a former fellow of the Maryland Early Childhood Leadership Program housed at the Shriver Center at UMBC. MECLIP, which it's known as, is a cross-sector leadership program in early childhood, and our vision is to develop leaders who improve school readiness, especially for disadvantaged children. Carolina Reyes was a fellow alongside me, and I know was working with Senator Washington in making this bill come to fruition. I stand before you today in strong support of Senate Bill 500, a crucial piece of legislation that addresses the workforce shortage in childcare by expanding access to education and honoring the voices of our diverse communities. This bill represents a significant step forward by allowing access to college programs that offer coursework in native languages. By recognizing the importance of linguistic accessibility, we honor and center the voices of our communities in creating solutions to the barriers they face. We understand that the competencies necessary to care for and educate young children transcend language and are best learned in context. The ability to learn and engage in one's native language fosters deeper understanding, cultural preservation, and effective communication within a childcare setting, and ultimately contributes to the academic success and retention of students in their degree programs. Furthermore, Senate Bill 500 introduces a service commitment requiring individuals to work in approved childcare setting for at least 20 hours after completing their studies. This commitment not only strengthens the childcare workforce, but also ensures our investments in education directly benefit the communities that need it most. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
We now have two witnesses virtually. We have three. Two of them are on the panel, Ruth Carolina Reyes and Dawn Hendricks. Ms. Hendricks, since you were here longer, why don't you go first? And then we'll go to Cheryl Torres. I don't know if she's here as well. Okay, okay. Okay, Dawn Hendricks.
Good afternoon, members of the Senate. I am Dr. Dawn Hendricks from Clackamas Community College in Oregon. It is an honor to testify on behalf of Senate Bill 500. In Oregon, just as with many states across the nation, there has been a recent push for early learning providers to begin earning college credits, not just community-based training hours, in an effort to encourage them to start their journey along the college pathway. However, for providers who do not have academic levels of verbal and written English skills, this has been a challenge. Thus, when the Oregon Department of Education announced a grant opportunity, the Grow Your Own Teacher Pathway to diversify the teaching pipeline, we submitted a proposal to create an Associates of Applied Science degree program in early childhood education entirely available in Spanish. As we developed the program, we eliminated as many barriers as possible. The first barrier we focused on was the language barrier. We developed all of the courses, including general education courses such as math, writing, and communications in Spanish. Another barrier we eliminated was lack of accessibility. Most of our students are already working full-time in early learning settings, sometimes 12 hours a day for family childcare providers. In addition, they often live in remote areas that make in-person classes difficult. Thus, we offer all of the courses online with synchronous class meetings held via Zoom in the evenings or on the weekends. We also focused on eliminating cost, and all of the textbooks that students need are available online, no cost in the courses themselves. Our degree program in early childhood in Spanish was the first in the nation, and we now have over 270 Latinx first-generation Spanish-speaking students. Because our program is accredited through the National Association for the Education of Young Children and is all online, we have students from outside of Oregon, including a partnership with the City University of New York to offer cohort courses to their Spanish-speaking students. We are able to extend that collaboration with Maryland and would also welcome the opportunity to share with their institutions of higher education that they might develop similar programs. Opportunities for native language instruction are crucial to developing our early learning workforce and meeting the diverse needs of children and families in our society. Thank you.
Hendricks, appreciate it. And congratulations on your success in Oregon. The next person we're going to hear from is Ruth Carolina Reyes.
Yes.
Welcome, Ms.
Buenas tardes. Buenas
Buenas
tardes. I
tardes.
am here. Very, very happy. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And this is the beauty of our state and this amazing country. I am very happy to testify today. As you see, I am in my car on my way to my master class because I want to be part of the mixed delivery system, working to be able to obtain my master's degree in education. But I stopped to be able to make my voice and my colleagues and the people who work in the field here, because we are the ones who have the experiences and we want to share with you this. Our state has a diverse population which reflect across all the state, right? Having higher education reinforces the importance of professionalism, including pride and passion of being early childhood educators. I want to tell you about my journey. I am an immigrant. English is my second language. I always wanted to be part of this amazing field. In order for me to be able to acquire higher education, it took me over 10 years. I needed to learn English. I needed to learn how to write in English essays. So now, after working and trying to find alternative models and ways and opportunities for the people in the field, we have found a model. Like you hear from Dr. Hendricks, that was the first AA in early childhood education. That is online program that many of the people who work in the field need to obtain these opportunities and open the doors and the pathways to be able to be included. We need to have people like me, people like many, like teachers that look like our children, that mirror who we serve at the school. This amazing is full of diverse teachers who mirror our children's, and the CCA PDF can give us the opportunity by open, to other colleges and universities until hopefully we can create our own college and universities with this model, bilingual education, Spanish in this case, classes for the population that we have here. There is so much that needs to be done so that we can continue improving the early childhood education in our states. So please, I ask you to continue and allowing the beginning of our diverse, inclusive, and equitable pathway for childcare professionals. Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo.
Buena suerte a ti, and good luck in all of your studies, Ms. Reyes. We're going to wrap up with Chari Torres.
Good afternoon. My name is Charo Torres. As Executive Director of the Latino Childcare Association of Maryland, representing over 2,000 childcare providers and early childhood educators, I urge you to support Senate Bill 0500. This crucial legislation invests in early childhood education, giving Maryland's youngest children the strong foundation they need to thrive. We know that quality early education sets children on a path for success in school and life. Senate Bill 0500 recognizes the critical role educators play in shaping this future. However, a significant portion of our workforce, mainly immigrant women whose first language is not English, lack access to bilingual higher education programs in early childhood education. This bill ensures they can acquire the necessary skills and qualifications to effectively serve our diverse communities. More than 30% of Maryland's early childhood educators are immigrant women. By equipping them with culturally and linguistically relevant training, we can better support children from all backgrounds, particularly those who come from multilingual families. This translates to smoother school transitions, higher academic achievement, and a brighter future for all Maryland children. I urge you to vote in favor of Senate Bill 0500. This investment in our early childhood workforce is an investment in Maryland's future. Thank you. Gracias.
Torres, colleagues, are there questions? Yes, Senator Carroza.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you, Senator Washington. I appreciate the panel, and I also appreciate this focus on, the shortage we have with our child care providers, how to address that. My question is, I think, and I'm sensitive to prioritization when we use that word. So I'm trying to first understand the makeup of the current program. Like how many awardees, what's the makeup of the awardees? Because as I read the bill, as I understand it, we're prioritizing applicants who, I went right to the bill language. We're going to prioritize applicants who have not completed college and also have been accepted at a college or university that offers native language or bilingual coursework in early childhood education. Because I'm looking at I represent 3 institutions of higher education: Salisbury University, Warwick Community College, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. So I'm looking at this first, trying to understand what is the current makeup, what do those awardees look like now, and how is this going to impact my 3 institutions of higher education?
Well, I'll let Dr. Cook answer, but Dr. Cook, you answer.
Okay, so for FY 2024, so this fiscal year, we had 377 children, or students, early childhood educators enrolled in the fund.
Meaning they received the.
So they're matriculating right now. They received the award. And so they receive funding from this fund. The fund covers tuition, books, literally all the costs associated with matriculation. I can tell you in FY 2023,
That's statewide.
that's statewide.
So you would have a breakdown of those 377?
Yeah, I can give you a breakdown
I would
of
like
that.
that.
Okay. And then in FY 23, 56 providers graduated from their program. Of that, 32 received an associate's degree, 24 received a bachelor's degree, and 19 were receiving the bachelor's degree with the early childhood certification, teacher certification.
Okay, I think for the information to be helpful, it does need to be broken down. Because I'd like, so when you say 377 awards in 24.
Right.
That means they're in the system now.
Current,
right?
yes, currently.
Then you mentioned some have made it through the coursework.
Yes, so
like
they're starting a program, whether it's a bachelor's degree program, an associate's, or a master's or a bachelor's with a certification. So they're starting the program and it takes a number of years for them to get towards completion. And so every year we do have a cohort that's graduating out of the program. So that's what I mean by FY 23, we had 56 graduating.
56 graduated statewide.
Statewide,
and then
correct.
I'd like
And now we have 377 currently matriculating in various programs across the state. All of the institutions that you mentioned, students are matriculating at those institutions currently, but we can give you a breakdown of
that would be
demographics
helpful,
and
because I
knowledge.
just think I'm a big believer when you're making a major change to a program with prioritization, you first have to understand what the current program looks like. So that's what I'm trying to understand.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just to sort of address some of what, just want to really be clear that there's prioritizing, we're adding it as a priority, but you're not excluding all the other criteria, which is that you have to obtain a level 2 in Maryland childcare, that you have to have documented at least 1 year of experience, that you've accepted. So none of these things that we already know are important. Now, to the extent that you may think that it's taking away from what our current, what schools in your region or any of our regions are currently doing, I'm happy to, look at the bill and make sure we're not inadvertently, hurting. I'm absolutely okay with that. So no worries.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. Very well done. Just a couple questions because I'm not that familiar with this program. First, I was reading the fiscal note and it said there's no money in 2025 for this program as of yet. Is that something we should be concerned about, or you think will be taken care of?
Senator, I believe we've heard over the course of the few weeks that there are many programs that we need to make sure that there's money for our policy agenda for the state. Yes.
Okay. And then as far as Senator Crows, I wanted to follow up with what she was saying. There's 377 students right now. Is there a waiting list or people who can't get in currently?
So how the program works is institutions of higher education apply to be part of the CCC PDF fund. And so they go through the application process. We at Maryland State Department of Education review their application. Then the State Department works with them on building a cohort because we know the cohort model is effective for completion, particularly for non-traditional students. So that's kind of how the fund is managed. And so MSDE sends money directly to the institution. The institution covers the cost of the students matriculating to their tuition, books. During COVID, we even funded laptops and things like that. So to provide virtual and distance learning at that time. So the fund really, the way it's structured, it's not, the money isn't going directly to students, it's going directly to the institutions, if that's helpful.
Yeah, so you have a limited amount of money, I imagine.
Correct.
And you have a certain amount of students apply. So currently, do you have enough money for the number of students that apply?
So the institutions of higher education, as they plan for those cohorts of students, once they know kind of the universe of the funding available for this fund in the fiscal year, they're able to build their cohorts based on the funding available. So there's not technically a waiting list like you would see in other pools, because the institution of higher education doesn't start recruiting until they have funding in hand for the cohort. So that's been part of the challenge with.
So I'll just say this is a different kind of model. So, and I think this is the case here. You're thinking that they're individuals, so our other part, individuals are just applying or their own. That's not how this is set up. It has been set up for our schools of education and for our universities that already offer these to then apply to fund a cohort, a group of students or class, right? A class. So for the class, 2024 class, they look for funding for that, and each of the institutions apply. And so that's how it's, it's different than what we're currently thinking about. And so also to Senator Carrozza's issue, we're expanding it a bit so that it's not just people who are already part and already have a relationship to colleges and universities, with the hope of reaching into that population that's currently not part of that set. And so that's opening it up to them as well, to motivate the universities to reach out and to recruit more people who are or maybe living in the communities or working in the communities.
So I might talk structure afterwards with you one-on-one.
No problem.
But the way it's set up right now, there's certain priorities that certain people get to the front of the line, I guess.
There's no prioritization at all in the bill. This new bill, yes,
Yeah.
but in current law, yeah.
Right. So I'm just trying to think practically how this works. So students go to high school, they do dual credit, they get college credit, so they wouldn't be prioritized. That would almost be a disincentive if they wanted to go in this field. I'm just trying to make sure that certain people don't get caught up in this, that they don't.
Certainly willing to work with you to make sure dual enrollment. Yeah, we haven't really contemplated that, so certainly we'll happy to think about it.
And then, example, my wife, she went back after raising kids. She went back massage therapist. Doing a great job. 20 years ago, she had college credits. She would not be prioritized if she decided to go into early childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying, as we talk offline, maybe we can.
And two, we have to just recognize that increasingly our school systems and our childcare facilities, we have a responsibility for people who don't speak English as their primary language. So we could continue to not provide or account for that, or we could try to figure out. Now, again, anything we do will be imperfect. So I am happy to think, for us to think, but we can't just sit back when we know that our the diverse, and then places like the senator, our vice chair, what do you have, like hundreds of languages? And so, our state is known, it has a lot of people who speak different languages, and they're part of the workforce. And so part of facilitating that workforce is allowing for there to be childcare for the children who may not speak English, because they could be 2, 3, 4 years old. So I get it, we have to figure this out, but we also can't not.
No, and I
incentivize
appreciate,
it.
because I understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I just don't I don't fully understand the funding mechanism. It doesn't appear that there's unlimited money. And if you have more people coming who meet these requirements, they could take up the whole pool and then everybody else would be left out. And that's what I want to have a balance in it. So
I hear you.
maybe we can talk offline a little bit.
We'll
Thank you.
figure it out.
Okay, we have a committee chair here for our last bill, so if it
Yeah,
can
would like
be
to hear.
brief or offline, but I totally want to,
Very brief.
very brief. Senator Croza.
When you said it's not awarded to individuals, it's to the schools, but the bill itself says the office may award funding from the fund to an individual. So I think part of it is the confusion of how this is organized. You know, I'm struggling to figure out, well, are they going to, you know, are they applying for these individual grants through you or through the institutions, especially when the bill says the office may award funding from the fund to an individual?
We can figure that out.
Clarification or an amendment. Thank you, Senator Croza. With that completes the hearing for Senate Bill 500. Thank you, Senator Washington. Thank you, witnesses, and thank you for those of you who have joined us online. Returning the gavel to the chair.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the 13th and final bill of the day, and we do have Chair Pam Bottle traveling all the way from the Senate Finance Committee to present Senate Bill 441.
I have a few people on a
Yeah,
panel.
so we've got a total of 5 witnesses signed up. I don't think that we have 5 witnesses in the hearing room, but why don't we, Robin, why don't you sit down? I mean, who signed up is Robin Elliott, Mary Cottle, Melissa Bowman, Rhonda Scott, Michael Patty. Those are the extent of the witnesses. They're all signed up favorable. Not everybody apparently is here. So Senator Biden, why don't you just present Senate Bill 441? We'll go to 3 panelists and we'll just.
Thank you. I'm going to
no
tell
other
you
witnesses. Yeah.
how lucky you are that you're on the last bill of the day. So thank you, Senator Chair Feldman and Vice Chair and all the committee members for hearing me. And please think of us as we're upstairs with probably another 60 witnesses to go on a privacy bill and a child privacy bill and some just really interesting legislation. So thank you for hearing Senate Bill 441 today. This is such a simple bill. It seems simple. We have a scholarship plan in MHEC that's for certain careers in schools and other healthcare professions. And all we're trying to do is add school nurses to be eligible for this scholarship plan. So right now it goes to lawyers, nurses and nursing area shortages. It doesn't include school nurses, which there is a nursing shortage. Includes nursing faculty members, occupational and physical therapy, social workers with a bachelor's or master's, physician's assistants, licensed clinical counselors, speech pathologists, and certain teachers. But it doesn't include school nurses. And we know there's a shortage of school nurses. And so the bill is requesting that we add them to the list of people eligible for the Janet L. Hoffman Loan Fund. Now, I had a call today from MHEC telling me that they really didn't have the money to fund all the school nurses, that maybe we could fund a certain group like Title I schools or community schools. But the report they sent me showed last year they gave $335,000. The fiscal note says they had about $1 million, 1 point some million. But this year in the 25 budget, they'll have 6.4 million in funding if it stays in the budget. And so I considering they only gave away 335,000 last year, I think that 6.4 million can certainly be enough to include school nurses. I'm not going to go on. I have a couple pages of testimony that's in your folder, but I think you have the gist of what we're trying to do. We're just trying to help school nurses, get more school nurses and have them get their nursing degree. And I'm going to turn it over to my panel who know this issue really well, and I'll stay for questions.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Do you have any sequence that you prefer, Madam Chair? Okay,
Robin-
Ms. Elliott?
Robin Elliott's going to
Okay,
start.
Ms. Elliott, on this bill that at least right now has no opposition, but that said, Ms. Elliott?
Good evening, almost. Robin Elliott from the Maryland Nurses Association. The journey of this bill really started with a piece of legislation that you all considered last year that added behavioral health professionals in schools to this loan program. So when we looked that up on the website, it says right on MHEC's website, nurses can apply, except school nurses. So this bill is to correct that. We aren't sure why. We think it could be an oversight. I do have one witness who was not able to make it, Mary Caudle, and she is a school nurse. And just to speak to the impact of the shortage, she had one thing come up in her day, which meant that she could not come down here to testify, but she does send her support. She oversees school nursing and does recruitment in Baltimore City. And with that, I would love to turn it over to the experts in nursing. I feel like I'm equally flanked here. All right. Thank you.
Make sure you tell us who you are.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Melissa Bolin, and I am a BSN RN in Maryland and a nationally board certified school nurse. I urge support of this bill to add school nurses to the professionals eligible for reimbursement through the Janet L. Hoffman Loan Assistance Program. Tuition reimbursement is a significant incentive that will attract qualified nurses to the field of school nursing, a field that tremendously struggles with recruitment, retention, substantially lesser pay, and critical staffing shortages. For the past 5 years, I have worked as a public school nurse in Montgomery County, where on the shoulders of me and my amazing coworkers falls the daily and often complicated health needs of over 160,000 students. As occurs throughout Maryland, I have witnessed since joining school health that there is a constant struggle to fill school nursing positions, which directly lessens the availability of essential care to students. In my experience, healthy students are more available to learn and have less chronic absenteeism. The expertise of school nurses directly promotes school students' health, enhancing their ability to attend school and be successful in their education. Who here remembers visiting a school nurse as a child? Funny enough, not me. Among my experiences, one that sticks out in my mind is while in middle school, I fell off the gymnastics rings in PE head first. I was told to cry it out in the locker room. Looking back on my experiences, I'm glad we've progressed, though see that school nurse staffing shortages continue to impact our children daily. This bill, if passed, will enable students and schools to have improved access to the essential care and comprehensive oversight of school nurses. In offsetting the financial burden of tuition for school nurses, nurses will be attracted to joining the ranks of school health, a field that so desperately needs them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, which brings us to our final witness of the day. Tell us who
Thank
you are.
you. Good evening, Mr. Chair and Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. Rhonda Scott, Executive Director for the Maryland Board of Nursing, and I'm here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 4041 on behalf of the board. The board strongly believes in increasing incentives that support nurses and other healthcare workers, particularly when it comes to financial assistance. This bill will help to support the effort to recruit and retain nurses working in our public schools. Attracting and retaining school nurses will not only help to improve the nursing workforce shortage within the state, but it will also improve health outcomes for students and reduce student absences as previously stated. I wanted to share really quickly something published by the CDC regarding school nurses. It starts by saying the National Association of School Nurses and the American Academy of Pediatrics recommend that school districts provide a full-time school nurse in every school building. Now, I'm not a school nurse, but I had a kid who always had something that she visited the school nurse quite frequently. And so I was quite happy that there was a school nurse available in her school. School nurses are often the only healthcare provider in a school. In the United States, more than 40% of school-aged children and teens have at least one chronic health condition like asthma, diabetes, seizure disorders, food allergies, or poor oral health. Some students with chronic conditions may miss school more often than others, which can affect their academic performance. For these students, school nurses or health centers offer vital help every day in managing their conditions. A school nurse can help students and their families get access to health insurance, coordinate care by communicating between family and healthcare providers, educate families on what healthcare services are available to their child at school. Additionally, loan repayment support that benefits the profession by allowing nurses to enhance their knowledge and professional competence. And Senate Bill 441 will assist in attracting nurses who are passionate about a career in public health. The board thanks you for your time, and we respectfully urge a favorable report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Chair Bidle or the panel?
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes.
add something real quickly?
Absolutely, yeah.
On average in the state of Maryland, we have 0.75 nurses per school. You just heard that we should have one per school. But we also have one nurse for every 848 students and in Frederick, Montgomery, Washington counties and Baltimore City, we have one nurse for every 1,500 students. So I thought some of your committee members might find that interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yes. Vice Chair said shocking. That's a shocking ratio. Any additional questions here? Okay, Madam Chair, good luck with those 60 witnesses. We feel your pain to
I think I'll be
appoint.
having Valentine's Day breakfast, not dinner.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 441. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes
Chair
our
Bidle.
work for today, and enjoy your evening. Good.